Chapter 590. Ouyang Shua. She bit her lip and stared at him. A flash of lightning lit up their faces. Her eyes were already glistening with tears and she was trembling, but she looked strangely mesmerizing. Ouyang Shua's already restless heart became even more restless at this moment. He had always wanted this woman. From the moment she appeared, from the moment she struggled in his arms in the hotel, from the moment he tasted her sweetness, she had already become his poison. He had long desired everything about her. On this night of lightning and thunder, the impulse that had been suppressed in Ouyang Shua's body for a long time burst out. The more she struggled, the more he wanted to control her. It was fine that Lu Li took the warmth of his family, but how could he take this woman as well? This was not fair. She should be his. He did not mind taking her body first and then taking her heart. The impulse made Ouyang Shua tremble. Why are you hiding from me? How am I worse than Lu Li? Do you still remember the night of the company's anniversary? You cried alone in the venue. Have you forgotten how much he hurt you? Now that he waved his hand, you want to go back? Do you still have any self-respect? As he spoke, he pressed down on her body until her entire body was pressed down on the bed. Her face was flushed red to her ears. Let go of me, let go. You can forget that kind of hatred, but hate me? What? Do you still love him? Is he worth it? Is he worthy? That's between us. He pinched her chin and held her face. She could not escape and her breathing was messed up. It hurts, let go. He hasn't fulfilled his responsibility as a good husband these years, has he? Then let me, the younger brother, fulfill his responsibility. How about that? Tao Yuan panicked. He was not just saying that. Are you crazy? This is the Lu family. Stop it right now. She was shouting at him, but her voice was already sobbing. Stop. The Lu family is more exciting, isn't it? Ouyang Shua said and kissed her lips. The lights in the room suddenly lit up, stinging their eyes. Taking advantage of his absent-mindedness, Tao Yuan hurriedly escaped from his arms. She saw the servant, Nanny Li, standing there dumbfounded, while Ouyang Shua didn't seem to mind, still maintaining a faint smile. It was a sleepless night. The next day Tao Yuan sat at the dining table, looking haggard and anxious. Didn't you sleep well last night? Lu Yinting asked. Her body trembled and she was so flustered that she didn't know how to answer. That. Ouyang Shua walked over. He was wearing a white shirt, looking refreshed and energetic. He smirked at Tao Yuan. Morning, sister-in-law. Tao Yuan suddenly felt as if she had swallowed a fly. She was extremely disgusted. Ouyang Shua must be used to being shameless. Did he forget what happened last night? But she remembered it clearly. She wanted to cut his face with a knife. Nanny Li brought the bowls and chopsticks over. Tao Yuan quickly lowered her head, feeling guilty. She felt that Nanny Li was looking at her with suspicion and disdain. But she didn't explain anything to her last night. She wanted to explain later, but she felt that it would only make things worse. She didn't know what to say. Some things, the more you explain, the more you cover up. But if she didn't explain, she would feel uneasy. She was also in a dilemma. Madam, 3rd Mississippi, Su Baiha and Lu Qingwan walked in arrogantly. It was obvious that they didn't come with good intentions. Lu Yinting already knew about the theft. Su Baiha was sure that Tao Yuan wouldn't dare to tell others, so she became arrogant again and was determined to take revenge. He glanced at Tao Yuan with a cold and resentful gaze and snorted coldly. Why are you back? Can't we go back to this house? Su Baiha sat down and said sarcastically. Now that the two people you like the most are at home, we've become unnecessary and an eyesore to you. You can't wait for us to never come back, right? What are you talking about? You moved out without saying a word. You don't even treat this house as your home. You've gone too far. Anyway, you don't treat us as your mother and daughter, do you? Besides, do you think I want to come back? Although you don't care about us, I'm still the mistress of this house. I can't watch as a scandal happens. Tao Yuan's body tensed up. What scandal? What are you talking about? Stealing with your brother-in-law at home, does that count? Lu Yinting looked at the two of them. Tao Yuan's face was pale, while Ouyang Shua was drinking his coffee calmly, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Don't talk nonsense. I'm talking nonsense? Nanny Li, tell me what you saw last night. Madam, Nanny Li was trembling. With me around, no one dares to do anything to you. Say it. Yes, madam. It was raining heavily last night. When I woke up, I realized that there was no electricity, so I asked Alin to take a look. In the end, when the lights came on, I saw what? Nanny Li lowered her head. I saw second young master pressing young madam on the bed, in young madam's bedroom. Lu Yinting was furious. What did you say? Nanny Li, you can't speak nonsense. Did you see it clearly? I saw it very clearly. It was second young master and young madam. Did you hear it clearly? Su Baihe looked at Lu Yinting and smiled. You're at home and they dare to act so recklessly. Isn't this a huge scandal? She couldn't help but mock. Tiske, you trusted them so much but they treated you like a fool. How pitiful. Nanny Li was Su Baihe's subordinate, so Lu Yinting didn't completely believe her words. He asked Tao Yuan instead. What's going on? Under the table she was nervously twisting her fingers. Even though she was forced to do it, Nanny Li didn't malign her. It was all Ouyang Shua's fault. But as the culprit, he was actually drinking his coffee leisurely as if nothing had happened. How infuriating. She composed herself and explained. I didn't have dinner last night. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I was hungry, so I went to the kitchen to look for food. I didn't expect the electricity to suddenly go out and he was there. I sprained my ankle, so he sent me back to my room to apply medicine. Then how did he send you back to your room? Did he carry you or piggyback you? Lu Qingwan asked in a strange tone. How could you come up with such a lie? It's a waste that you're not a scriptwriter. I'm not lying. You went to the kitchen and he was there too. How could there be such a coincidence? Did you guys make an appointment? Tao Yuan, do you think we're all fools? Lu Qingwan sneered. You don't have any other abilities, but you're good at quibbling. You can even make the dead come alive. Fine, even if it's a coincidence, why did he press you under him? Did Nanny Li wrongly accuse you? Tao Yuan clenched her teeth and was speechless. See, you have nothing to say now, right? You can't even make up a story and you're still saying that there's nothing going on between you two? Lu Qingwan said to Lu Yinting proudly as she had something on him. Dad, I've already reminded you that they're hooking up, but you didn't believe me. Now that they're having an affair at home, do you still want to protect her? Seeing how Tao Yuan couldn't explain herself, Lu Yinting knew that there must be more to the matter. But he believed that it wasn't Tao Yuan's fault, but Ouyang Shua. He would do anything to take revenge on this family and he would first target Tao Yuan. Su Baihe pressed. You said there's no evidence before, but now that the evidence is conclusive, they can't deny it. You can't just let it go like this. Lu Yinting was filled with anger. Shua, don't you have anything to say? Ouyang Shua shrugged. Sister-in-law is telling the truth. She's injured, and as her brother-in-law, it's normal for me to send her back to her room, right? As for being on top of her, it was dark at that time and I accidentally tripped over her. In the end, some people thought that I really can't defend myself. If you want to frame someone, you can always find a pretext. Stop pretending. The evidence is conclusive, and you still say that we've wronged you. As a man, can't you admit the dirty things you've done? Lu Qingwan was aggressive. Everyone more or less has done some dirty things. My dear sister, you dare to say that you didn't? He raised his eyelids and stared at her with a malicious gaze. Lu Qingwan's mind flashed with the image of her sitting on Ouyang Shua's lap, trying her best to seduce him as well as his cold eyes. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't say a word. Since you've done it, then why are you questioning me? At least I won't do it with my sister-in-law like you. Did you see us naked on the bed or did we hug and kiss? The two of us just fell together and that's it? You're still quibbling? You're already very unusual when you were in the hotel. Ouyang Shua made a shushing gesture, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a devilish smile, with a hint of danger. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. After all, my tolerance is not without a bottom line. You have no bottom line? Lu Qingwan slammed the table and stood up. My tolerance is not without a bottom line. I don't know where you came from, but you used some tricks to confuse my dad and make him give you 30% of the shares. You're still not satisfied and you still want to steal with this bitch. I think the two of you are working together, and your goal is to tear our Lu family apart. Tao Yuan was in a disadvantageous position in this matter, but she didn't accept being tied to Ouyang Shura, so she immediately clarified. I have nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him? Hey, you've slept with him and you're still not related? In this family, the relationship between the two of you is the most unusual. You're more familiar with him than you are with my brother, right? Tao Yuan was also annoyed. Say that again? You can do it and you're afraid of me saying it? I'll say it 1,000 times, 10,000 times and it's the same. You're cheating, you're cheating, you're cheating. Lu Qingwan's attitude was arrogant. The two of you were caught lying on the same bed and you're still denying it? Who would believe you? I believe you. A calm and powerful voice came. The few of them looked over at the same time and Lu Li walked over. His imposing figure had the aura of an emperor, and his cold features seemed to be carved by a knife. Brother, you believe her? You don't even know what's going on, okay? Nanny Lee, say that again. There's no need to say it. You guys were arguing so loudly and I've already heard it and I know what's going on. No, you don't know at all. If you knew, you wouldn't believe her. Lu Qingwan pointed at Tao Yuan, wanting to rush up and tear her apart. Chapter 591. I know what's going on. Lu Li's cold gaze fell on Ouyang Shura. He still had the same indifferent look on his face, and there was even a hint of schadenfreude as he said slowly, Big brother is big brother. You're the most sensible person in the whole family. His tone was quite sarcastic. He patted Lu Li's shoulder, but the latter shook him off. If you hadn't appeared in time, sister-in-law and I wouldn't have been able to clear our names. You trust sister-in-law so much. This relationship is really enviable. Su Baiha and Lu Qingwan rarely had something on them, and they wanted to use this opportunity to kick them out of the house. They didn't expect that Lu Li would still side with Tao Yuan at this time. The whole world was about to collapse. It's already like that and you still believe her? What kind of drug did she give you and Dad? God, I don't know you now. Are you still my brother? Or are you just a stranger wearing the same skin as him? I've said many times that you don't need to worry about my matters. I know Tao Yuan's character very well. In short, this matter has nothing to do with her. Ouyang Shua chuckled. If it has nothing to do with Tao Yuan, then it has something to do with me? The look in his eyes was so dangerous and he was so scared. Tao Yuan is my wife, not a prisoner. You have no right to monitor her. Lu Li dropped this sentence and went upstairs with his arm around Tao Yuan's shoulder. After returning to the room, Tao Yuan was still in a trance. Lu Li took off his coat, stood in the sun and was untying his tie. Tao Yuan was still in a daze. You believe him? I don't believe him. I believe you, but I don't believe him. Lu Li said, and there was a hint of displeasure between his brows. Why don't you suspect me at all? After all, he and I, with that brain of yours, you can't think of so many schemes. Was this a compliment? The whole thing was directed by him. The nearby power system has always been very stable, but it suddenly tripped last night. It's obvious that someone pulled it down. You're saying that Ouyang Shura purposely pulled the switch when he saw me going to the kitchen? Then he found an excuse to send me back to my room and wait for someone to wake up and see us. She pursed her lips. Is there such a coincidence? This is his meticulous planning. It's not a coincidence. Could it be that he didn't sleep last night and stared at her room? Tao Yuan was terrified just thinking about it. The feeling of being watched was eerie, and a chill ran down his spine. Is he insane? You just found out. Lu Li sneered. But he looks very normal. Maybe it's not a mental problem, but a psychological problem. We should recommend him to see a psychologist. Even psychiatrists can't help him. There's no cure for him. Then isn't it dangerous for him to stay at home? Who knows what he will do next? So try not to return to this place in the future. Stay with me. It sounded reasonable, but why did she feel that most of it was out of selfishness? No matter what, there would be trouble wherever Ouyang Shua and Su Baiha were. It was better for her to go home less. Who knew what would happen next? He didn't touch you? Are you suspecting me? I'm not suspecting you, but any husband who heard that his wife was in the room with another man last night would definitely be unhappy. Lu Li's face was filled with jealousy. If it wasn't for the damn meeting and the damn rain that trapped me, would he have the chance to get close to you? He did want to do something. There was a murderous look in the man's eyes. Tao Yuan shivered. But he didn't have the chance. Nanny Li came just in time. I knew he had ulterior motives towards you. It's probably to take revenge on you. I became an innocent cannon fodder. Cannon fodder? If it wasn't for you, would he have the chance? He was willing to believe her. Tao Yuan was originally quite touched, but she was a little speechless when he suddenly returned to his previous self. So you're planning to settle old scores with me behind closed doors? All of this is my fault? Look, I just said one sentence and you're like this. Are you a hedgehog? Lu Li said unhappily. Can't you tell that your man is jealous? Why are you still standing there? I already said that I'm jealous. Hurry up and comfort me. Tao Yuan pinched her eyebrows and couldn't help laughing. You're already in your 30s. Can you not be so childish? Be mature, okay? How am I immature? If I were immature, I would have beaten him up downstairs. He's like a parasite causing trouble in my territory. I think even if he had 9 lives, it wouldn't be enough for him. Lu Li had never been soft-hearted towards his enemies. He didn't hit Ouyang Shua just now because he was considering Lu Yenting's feelings. Now that the two of them were related by blood, it wouldn't be easy to make a move. However, Ouyang Shua kept making trouble. She felt that it was difficult for him. There would definitely be a lot of trouble in the future. She didn't know what kind of mess would happen. In the study, Lu Yenting smoked one cigarette after another. Ouyang Shua was playing with the antiques in the cabinet. Every one of them was priceless. Any one of them was enough for an ordinary family to live on for a lifetime. The gap between the rich and the poor, haha, it was really big. Rich people were quite hateful. What happened last night? Was it you who arranged it? What are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Don't play dumb in front of me. I didn't raise you, but I'm your father after all. I still understand you. I also understand Tao Yuan. She was framed by you. Oh, if you say so. Ouyang Shua chuckled. No matter what others said, he didn't care. Lu Yenting was heartbroken. How could you do such a thing? What did I do? You were the one who said that I would be welcomed into this family, so I tried my best to build a good relationship with sister-in-law. Is that wrong? Should I not care about her sprained her ankle? I was just trying to be friendly to my family, but my intentions were misunderstood. I feel quite wronged. Lu Yenting's patience was exhausted. He put out his cigarette and waved his hand. I'm not going to argue with you. Anyway, I've let you down for the past 20 years. If you have any dissatisfaction, come at me. Don't go against the family. They don't even know about your existence. Dissatisfaction? Ouyang Shua didn't seem to understand what he said. His smile was beautiful. His lips were red and his teeth were white. I'm not dissatisfied. I'm enjoying the wealth of the Lu family now. You even promoted me to vice president. I'm more than happy. What's there to be dissatisfied about? Lu Yenting felt that he couldn't communicate with him. Even though it was his own son, he had to use the word sinister to describe him. Anyway, it was useless no matter how anxious he was and how much he said. Since you already know that I'm trying my best to make it up to you, why did you still cause so much trouble? Can't the family have a moment of peace? So, you're saying that I should stay away from this family because I'm from a lowly background and don't deserve to get close to them? Why do you have to misinterpret my words? That's the feeling you give me. I just helped sister-in-law. I didn't do anything, but you're making me sound like I'm a heinous criminal. Sai, you're not the one who brought me up, so you're different from your own child. You're condemning me with just a few words from my mother and sister. I'm very disappointed. Was he trying to make him feel guilty on purpose? But Lu Yenting thought that he had done what he should and there was nothing to feel guilty about. On the contrary, he was the one who had been stirring up trouble. You're my son. Of course I'll treat you well. But I won't allow anyone to play tricks in this family, especially using Yuan. I know you've been trying your best to do something to her, but I won't let you use her to attack Ali. What if I don't use her, but can't help but want to get close to her? When Ouyang Shua spoke just now, his eyes were full of mischief. This was the first time he looked into Lu Yenting's eyes. There was a determination in his tone. For a moment, Lu Yenting couldn't tell if this sentence was true or not. What did he mean by can't help but want to get close to her? Was it what he thought it meant? Lu Yenting hoped that Ouyang Shua said this to provoke him, but his eyes looked very serious. Was his acting too good, or, you dote on sister-in-law and help her in everything? This means that sister-in-law is a very charming and good woman, worthy of a man's love. So, I think it's normal to treat her well. She's your sister-in-law. Of course you should respect her. Respect. Ouyang Shua teased. There was a faint ripple between his brows. I don't feel that way. I just feel that I'm very happy when I'm with her. When I can't see her, I miss her and want to get close to her. What he said was true to his feelings. What kind of feeling do you think this is? Ridiculous. Lu Yenting slammed the table and stood up. She's my sister-in-law. How can you have such thoughts about her? Otherwise it wouldn't be called can't help it, right? A fair lady is a gentleman's dream. Don't force me to take away everything you have now. It's all yours anyway. If you want it, take it. I don't care. Ouyang Shua shrugged nonchalantly. As he said this, the corner of his mouth twitched. However, what I want to do with a woman who can't help myself? It's none of your business. Tao Yuan's work today was to inspect the construction site. The construction was only halfway done. The site was a mess. There were cement, floor tiles, and waste everywhere. Dust was billowing in the air. She and a few contractors were discussing the progress of the project. Deputy General Manager. Deputy General Manager. She turned around. It was Ouyang Shua again. Originally, The only thing that made her happy was that she did not have to see him every day in the department after he became the deputy general manager. She did not expect that he was still haunting her. Tao Yuan walked to the side and inspected the site alone. What you said just now was not bad. You have the demeanor of a strong woman. Ouyang Shua's laughter sounded behind her. She moved to the side and he followed her again. Why do women have to be so strong? Isn't it good to find a leisurely job in the company? Working overtime all day and suffering at the construction site with a group of men. She walked away again. Can't you hear what I'm saying? She said, Oh. I'm working. And I'm complimenting your work ability. Should I say thank you? He was obviously looking for something to say. Are you still angry about what happened last night? That was just an accident. No one expected it. I'm just helping you out of kindness. I don't believe in accidents. I only believe in human arrangements. Tao Yuan put on a fake smile. And you kind? I think you're up to no good. I admit that it was a dark and windy night last night. You and I were in the same room. The smell on your body was so fragrant that I was a little confused. I couldn't control myself and I'm not ashamed to admit it. What's the difference between a man and a beast if he can't even control himself? If I'm really a beast, I'll eat you on the first day. Chapter 592. Go away. She was angry and anxious. There are so many people watching. She finally did not have that cold and indifferent expression. Ouyang Shua's eyes were a little playful. You don't allow me to touch you in a crowded place, and you didn't allow me to touch you when there were two of us last night. What do you want? Don't be so shameless, okay? Why should I let you touch me? Because I like you. The man still had his own way of doing things. No one could stop him from doing what he wanted to do. Tao Yuan pushed him away and walked away, but he followed her wherever he went. She couldn't do anything about it. Don't you have anything else to do? Why do you keep following me? You're affecting my work. I'm also working. This is just a small project. There's no need for you to inspect it personally. It doesn't matter as long as... He smiled without saying a word. As long as she was here. His interest in her was getting stronger and stronger. I don't have time to talk in riddles with you. Ouyang Shua, I'm begging you. I don't care how you want to take revenge on the Liu family, but can you not drag me into it? I don't want to be cannon fodder. You're really annoying me. I just want to be close to you. It has nothing to do with the Liu family. As for the conspiracy you mentioned, I don't understand. Seeing that you're so angry, did I offend you? Let me treat you to a meal? I can't eat in front of you. Tao Yuan rejected him coldly and pushed him again. I'm warning you, don't follow me anymore. Is the construction site yours? How can you say that I'm following you? Look at how angry you are, your helmet is crooked. He stretched out his long arm to help her straighten it and touched her face. Smooth and tender skin. TSK, it felt so good. Tao Yuan was flustered. Those people must have seen it. She didn't dare to stay a moment longer and turned to leave. All of a sudden she heard Ouyang Shua say, Be careful. Immediately after, she was carried by Ouyang Shua and rolled to the side. Bang! A piece of steel fell beside her. She was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat and could not recover for a long time. At the hospital. What? Nothing happened? Ouyang Shua saved her? Damn it. You trash, what use do I have for you? Scram. Tao Yinran hung up the phone angrily. If you don't rest well when you're sick, who are you fighting with? Holding a bouquet of tulips, Ouyang Shua frivolously leaned against the door with a faint smile on his face. Tao Yinran's heart skipped a beat. She looked nervous and clenched her fists. With one hand in his pocket, he slowly walked over. The lilies in the vase withered. The flowers have withered to such a state, yet no one has come to see you? Luli hasn't been here? You? Tao Yinran clenched her fists. She hated his face. Are you here to add insult to injury? How can you say that? My dear baby, of course I came to visit you. Ouyang Shua's tone was so gentle that it was almost perverted. I've been in the hospital for a month before you showed up. You didn't even pick up my call. You're really considerate. I think you've been charmed by a vixen. How could that be? Which vixen is more charming than you? You're the vixen. I'm complimenting you. Ouyang Shua took out the withered lilies and threw them into the trash can. Then, he inserted the tulips into the trash can with a gentle look on his face. I think you're here to make things difficult for me. Tao Yinran's mouth was tight, but it was just to cover up the panic in her heart. Ouyang Shua came right after the accident at the construction site. He must not have come with good intentions. She was still very afraid of him. Ouyang Shua sat down and crossed his legs. He stared at her with a faint smile. I think you've been in the hospital for too long that your brain has gone haywire. You're the one who has gone haywire. I'm fine. Oh really? If there's nothing wrong with your brain, how could you do such a thing? Sure enough. He came for that matter. Tao Yinran's face turned pale and she hurriedly turned her face to the side. I don't know what you're talking about. Today there was an accident at the construction site. Tao Yuan almost died. Really? That must be the heavens having eyes. That bitch should have died a long time ago. It's a pity that she didn't die. Whether it's God's eyes or someone's arrangement, you know very well. I saw a figure flash upstairs. It was arranged by you, right? There's no need to lie between us. After all, we're in the same boat. Who's in the same boat with you? After knowing that vixen, do you still remember me? Tao Yinran couldn't suppress her anger and burst out. If it weren't for you today, she would have died. You're really great. You're the hero who saved the damsel in distress. It's all because of you. She grabbed the vase and threw it at him. I hate you. Clang, the vase broke into pieces. The tulips and water spilled all over the floor. What's wrong? The nurse came in and asked. Nothing. Ouyang Shua smiled. You go out first. The nurse closed the door and left. Do you know that murder is against the law? So what? He has no evidence. Evidence? Tao Yuan is Lu Li's darling now. If she had an accident, do you think he wouldn't investigate? He might not be able to find me. Even if he did, so what? Will he report me? At most, he will hate me for a period of time. Anyway, Tao Yuan is already dead. I can still make him fall in love with me just like how Tao Yuan stole him. TSK, a woman who hates because of love is really scary. If you're so extreme, the game won't be fun anymore. Play? I think you've already fallen for it. Do you still remember your purpose? The second young master of the Lu family. Tao Yinran sneered. You've lied to me for so many years. You're really good at hiding it. I should have known that a sinister person like you would not be used by me. It turns out that you've been using me all along. Tao Yinran had been the campus belle since she was a child. She had countless pursuers around her. She enjoyed the feeling of being pursued by men. So even when she was dating Lu Li, she was very restless and often went to the bar to find men behind his back. And that night, she was attracted by the good and evil temperament of Ouyang Shua and took the initiative to seduce him. But she didn't expect that she was pregnant. Tao Yuan got hold of her weakness and forced her to leave for 3 years. After she left, she had been with Ouyang Shua and ordered him to rape Tao Yuan. She always knew that he had a purpose, but she didn't expect that he and Lu Li were brothers. Anyway, we're using each other. So what? Ouyang Shua didn't care. And when it comes to sinister, we're about the same. But in terms of viciousness, you're better than me. You've killed people directly. Are you here to settle accounts with me? What? Are you in love with that woman too? Even if I am, why can't I? This won't change my plan. It's just that I got more than before. Even though she had already guessed this fact, Tao Yinran still couldn't accept it. She felt worse than being struck by lightning. Lu Li was seduced by Tao Yuan at least 4 years after he married her. But how long had Ouyang Shua known her? He fell in love with that woman in just a few months and turned the gun to her? She couldn't accept it. Don't find excuses. I think you're so fascinated by that B*TCH that you've even forgotten your own purpose. Then give me a reason not to fall in love with her. She killed our child. Ouyang Shua burst out laughing. That smile looked extremely cruel to Tao Yinran. That was also his child. Child? Hee, when you were with Lu Li, would you have given birth to it? It was supposed to be solved, but you made Tao Yuan take the blame. You used the excuse of pushing her and rolled down the stairs in front of Lu Li to have a miscarriage. He hated her for several years. Isn't that enough? If she didn't know that I was pregnant with another man's child, would I have left Ali? Tao Yinran still felt painful when she thought about it. She threatened me and took advantage of these years to steal Ali. She was the one who deserved to die. And do you think I'm not sad about the miscarriage? These years I often dreamed that the baby came to kill me. I was also very painful. Her eyes were glistening with tears. Perhaps her pain was more or less real, but it couldn't awaken Ouyang Shua's sympathy. She asked for it. Every step now was chosen by Tao Yinran herself. It's all your fault. I was just used by you. Did I force you to seduce me? It was you. From the moment you crawled to my feet, you were destined to do this. Ouyang Shua stood up with a heartless look on his face. You'd better think about how to get Lu Li back. As for Tao Yuan, I'll take care of her. Don't look for trouble. In the hotel. Give this document to the new director. Tao Yuan handed it to her assistant, Lin Wei. Yes, manager. Bang, Lu Li walked in quickly, startling Lin Wei. Xiao. You go out first. Yes. Lin Wei closed the door worriedly and left. Tao Yuan's legs were a little sore. She was about to sit down when Lu Li grabbed her by her shoulders and checked her up anxiously. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. What could happen to me? I know about the accident at the construction site. Although he heard that she was unharmed, Lu Li was still worried. He left a group of executives and rushed over. Why are you acting like nothing happened? Not scared at all? Of course I was. I was quite scared at the time. But I can't be so scared that I can't even come to work. Tao Yuan said with a smile. Look, I'm standing in front of you. You're too nervous. Relax. She acted like nothing happened, but Lu Li almost scared her out of her wits. You almost scared me to death. No one can predict an accident. Luckily, Ouyang Shua pushed me away, or else, thinking about it, she was still a little scared. Lu Li said with disdain. Maybe it was a self-directed act, pretending to be a hero saving the damsel in distress. Then he gambled too much. It was really dangerous at the time, just a little bit more. You know how to be afraid? Lu Li poked her forehead. Why did you go to the construction site instead of staying in the office? That's my job. There have never been any problems before. This time, forget it. It was a scare but not a real danger. How can you take chances in this kind of thing? Lu Li reprimanded her with a straight face. You got out of danger this time. What about next time? Tao Yuan was annoyed and amused at the same time. Come on, I didn't say anything. Why are you so nervous? Nonsense. You're my only wife. I still want to spend the rest of my life with you. What should I do if something happens to you? His tone was fierce, but it was so domineering that it made her heart flutter. Tao Yuan's heart shook and her ears felt a little numb. Let go of me. I have to work. Promise me that you'll leave the construction site to the men. You're not allowed to go. I'll try. Chapter 593. Left with no choice, she could only raise 3 fingers. Okay, I promise. Is that all right? That's more like it. Lu Li hugged her so tightly that Tao Yuan couldn't struggle at all. This is the office. Her tone was soft and a little coquettish. You can't imagine how worried I was when I heard the news. My heart almost stopped beating. Tao Yuan, you are more important than my life. Do you understand? His strong arms showed that he cared about her, but Tao Yuan felt that she was suffocating. I can't breathe. Only by hugging you like this can I feel a little safe. You always don't know how to take care of yourself and it makes me worry. I can't wait to take you with me all the time so I don't have to be so worried. One moment I worry that you will be seduced by other men, and the next moment I worry that you will be in danger. My mind is full of you. Why do you always make me worry? Tao Yuan wanted to say that she had been alone for so many years, and she knew how to take care of herself, but the man's concern was melting her heart bit by bit. She was a woman and she was fragile in her bones. She needed the man's protection. After a long time, Lu Li let her go. Do you want to go home and rest first? No, I still have a lot of work to do and I'm afraid I will have to work overtime today. Her tone softened. You always like to be brave. He shook his head with a helpless expression on his face. His expression was gentle. I will have dinner with some directors after work today. Do you want to go? The CEO is having dinner with the directors and I am just a manager. I'd better go home and rest early. Okay, wait for me to go home. The next day, Pan Chi came to see Tao Yuan, and they had dinner in the staff cafeteria. Why did you come to me for dinner today? Tao Yuan asked. They had not seen each other since they came back from the resort last time. I want to gossip with you. Did you know that your husband and a female star were on the headlines yesterday? Pan Chi waved the news on her phone in front of her. TSK, he's too strong. Tao Yanran, that vixen, can no longer satisfy him. Tao Yuan lowered her head to eat and replied casually. How could you believe the nonsense of a gossip magazine? Pan Chi furrowed her brows. Damn, what kind of drug did he give you? Why do you trust him so much? I'm saying that those paparazzi love to make groundless accusations. It might not be true. The first time is a rumor, what about the second time, the third time? He had been on the headlines every day. Was that all fake? Don't tell me that he's different from before. I think your brain has gone haywire. Don't tell me you're going back to him with just a few sweet words? Pan Chi was very worried. No, I'm definitely going to get a divorce. What about the divorce certificate? Where's the divorce certificate? You've been shouting for a divorce for months. Why haven't I seen the divorce certificate? Do you think it's that easy? If he doesn't sign, how can I leave? Then let's go to court with him. Can't you use your brain to think about it? If I go to court with him, I'll definitely lose. The law is the weapon of the rich and powerful. I'm the weak. When the time comes, other than embarrassing myself, what good will it do? Embarrass you? The Liu family will be even more embarrassed, okay? When the time comes, he'll definitely want a divorce. He doesn't want his own face, but does he not want the Liu family's face? I think you're just looking for excuses. You can't bear to divorce him. Tao Yuan had asked herself before. Was she wavering? More or less a little. After all, the human heart was made of flesh. Some of the things that Lu Li had done had indeed moved her, but it was not enough to completely shake her. Divorce was for the good of both parties. This decision could not be changed. The Liu family is facing some problems now, so, look, you're looking for excuses again. Isn't it just an illegitimate child? This kind of thing is common among wealthy families. What kind of situation is this? How do you know? Isn't it obvious? Your father-in-law is not stupid. Why would he give an outsider 30% of the shares for no reason? It's obvious that he wants him to take over the position and compete with Lu Li for the CEO position. By the way, when that bastard found out about this news, didn't he have a very interesting expression? Were there any screams or howls or smashing tables? His psychological endurance is not that weak. Other than that day when he left the Liu family without a word, his attitude had been very calm these few days. Obviously he had accepted the fact. TSK pretend. So much of the Liu family's assets originally belonged to him. Now that half of it was suddenly divided, I would definitely go crazy if I were him. If he pretended to be fine, sooner or later he would suffer internal injuries. Speaking of which, that Ouyang Shua is really good looking. But in terms of appearance, he's comparable to Lu Li. That kind of mysterious and attractive aura. If you don't have a girlfriend, you can consider letting me be your sister-in-law. Come on, he's the most dangerous person. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Pan Chi said slyly. I like that kind. The more dangerous it is, the more I like it. Tao Yuan's phone rang. It was a call from Lu Li. Hello. Where are you? The staff cafeteria. Wait there. I'll come over now. But Pan and I... Before she could finish, the call was hung up. Is that son of a bitch coming over? Then I'll leave first. Why are you so afraid of him? Of course. Haven't I been tortured badly enough by him? If he wants to kidnap you, he won't bear to do anything to you. I'm different. He can kill me in minutes. That's it, bye. Pan Chi ran away faster than a rabbit. Not long after, Lu Li arrived. Who were you eating with just now? A friend. Tao Yuan replied. In case he misunderstood, she added another sentence. A female friend. Pan Chi? How did you know? Other than her, what other friends do you have? Why, when she heard that I was coming, she ran away in fear. At least she knows what's good for her. Don't you think it's wrong to bully a girl like this? She's a woman? I've never seen a woman half as tough as she is. You'd better stay away from her. I don't want my woman to become a tomboy. What's the matter? About the scandal between me and Gong Shui. I need to explain it to you lest someone gets jealous. Gong Shui? Is it that Gong Shui from this year's Golden Rooster Award? She's so beautiful. You hooked up with her? Congratulations. Listen to your tone. How jealous. I'm not jealous. I'm congratulating you from the bottom of my heart. So you don't need to explain anything to me. After all, I don't care. It's your business whether you want to hear it or not. It's my business whether I explain it or not. But you're used to saying one thing and thinking another. If I don't explain it, you'll hate me even more. She's the new spokesperson of our hotel. Last night, a few directors had dinner together. After dinner, I sent her back to the hotel, but she was photographed at the entrance. That's what happened. I didn't even touch a finger of hers. If I really had something going on with her, I wouldn't have pestered you last night. After Lu Li explained, Tao Yuan just calmly replied with an "oh." Although it was just that, he knew that this narrow-minded woman must feel much better. She was arrogant on the surface, but she was actually very soft-hearted. Those gossip magazines love to do this kind of thing. I didn't believe it at all, so you don't need to explain. So can I understand that you already have the most basic trust in me? Trust that I won't touch other women except you? His eyes were burning. You once said that trust is the foundation of marriage. I once made you feel very insecure, so now I'll slowly make you believe in me and do everything I can to save our marriage. He said with great confidence and hope. Tao Yuan, you'll fall in love with me again. This topic was too serious. Tao Yuan didn't want to talk about it. She didn't even want to think about it, so she changed the topic. I've heard your explanation. Is there anything else? For the sake of publicity, she will be my date for the opening dinner of the company's new business district in 2 days. Let me tell you first, lest you get jealous. Okay. Also, she's my junior in primary school, that's all. So you're childhood friends. Tao Yuan couldn't help but tease him. So this endorsement thing, is it through the back door? Lu Li wagged his finger, his smile charming. Other women are all ordinary, there's no back door for them. You're different. In my eyes, you're a national beauty. He pointed to his heart. Here, you're welcome anytime. The opening dinner of the new business district was grand. All the big shots were there, and there were even some celebrities. Lin Wei was as excited as a lark. Sister Yuan, thank you for bringing me here. I took pictures with so many celebrities today, they were so nice. Now the 4 most popular fresh meats are here, and they're all so handsome. I don't know who to be my fan anymore. Aren't there enough celebrities in the hotel? I've seen them a lot, but I'm too embarrassed to take pictures with them. I'm so happy I'm going to faint. Tao Yuan sometimes envied Lin Wei. She was so innocent that even the smallest things could be a reason to be happy. There was a commotion at the door. She looked over. It was Lu Li and Gong Shui. In terms of appearance alone, the man was tall, handsome, and well-dressed, while the woman was delicate and beautiful. They were indeed a very pleasing pair, very pleasing to the eye. It was strange that she could admire them calmly as a bystander, without a hint of jealousy. Could it be, as Lu Li said, that she already had the most basic trust in him? She would rather it was because she didn't care. Lin Wei stuck out her tongue awkwardly. You were photographed 2 days ago, didn't you know how to avoid it? Why did you have to be so high profile? You didn't consider your feelings at all. Sister Yuan, aren't you angry? Tao Yuan smiled calmly. It's not the first time. If I was angry every time, I would have been pissed off long ago. You're so generous. It was me, Humph. I definitely wouldn't let them get away with it. Mrs. Lu. A gentle voice rang out, and Gong Shui stood there gracefully. Lin Wei was stunned. She was so beautiful. Tao Yuan nodded. Lin Wei snapped back to reality. What was going on? A rival provocation? She looked at Tao Yuan worriedly. She gestured for her to leave first. Mrs. Lu, nice to meet you. Gong Shui extended her hand. Thank you. Chapter 594. I've always been curious about who Mrs. Lu is. Today I finally know why Mr. Lu likes you so much. Thank you. The rumors 2 days ago were made up by the reporters. I hope you don't misunderstand. Gong Shui gave a simple explanation. Every time we travel as a group, we're always photographed alone together. I'm also very helpless about it. Celebrities are all like this. Well, luckily you are reasonable. Otherwise, if it affects your relationship with Mr. Lu, I will be a sinner. Gong Shui chuckled. A man like Mr. Lu should be the dream of all women in the world. Tao Yuan looked at Lu Li. In the crowd, he was the most eye-catching. He seemed to have a halo around him. Wherever he went, he was the center of attention. The whole place was filled with well-dressed VIPs. The waiters walked back and forth with champagne in their hands. He smiled and shook hands with the guests. He was noble, arrogant, but polite. His temperament was enchanting. She fell in love with him for a reason. This man was poison. The man turned back, raised his glass and winked at her. She had thought that he had the aura of a male god. Suddenly he was not serious. Tao Yuan couldn't help laughing. He had a sense of justice since primary school. At that time I was often bullied and Mr. Lu would help me. Mrs. Lu, there must be something special about you for Mr. Lu to be so loyal to you. Tao Yuan could only say that. Thank you. Lu Li walked over and Gong Shui left. What did she say to you? You still don't know? She teased. You are indeed an actress. You memorized the script well and kept saying good things about you. I am so outstanding. Does she need to memorize good things about me? She must have said it from the bottom of her heart. Tao Yuan was amused. I have seen narcissistic people but not as narcissistic as you. By the way, you already explained it yesterday. Is it necessary to make her explain it again today? Isn't it because she cares about you too much? You know how arrogant you are. You have such a long brain. Who knows what you are thinking in your heart even though you say it's nothing? Am I that unreasonable? Lu Li raised his eyebrows. She's just so pretentious. She didn't bother to argue with him. I've discovered a pattern. All the women you like are big-breasted, brainless, bad women. As for those you don't like, they have a good character. Gong Shui is a good example. Then I like you. I don't think your breasts are big. He stared at her breast and gestured with his hand. At most it's this big. See, women don't like bad men. Tao Yuan said seriously. It depends on looks. Only those who are good-looking are called flirting. Those who are ugly are definitely called harassing. Oh? Do you like flirting? The two of them rarely bickered like this, and Tao Yuan found it quite interesting. However, was their relationship harmonious enough for them to joke around? This doesn't seem right. Suddenly, she was a little flustered, afraid that she would fall into his gentle trap bit by bit. She narrowed her eyes. I'll go greet a few colleagues first. Lu Li didn't say anything. He knew that she was running away, but it meant that it was getting harder and harder for her to resist him. During the banquet, the new spokesperson, Gong Shui, finished her speech and took a sip of champagne. The atmosphere was harmonious when she suddenly frothed at the mouth and fell to the ground, twitching. She looked very scary. All the guests were frightened. Chief Zhang of the police station was one of the guests, and he immediately rushed to the stage. She must have been poisoned. Find a doctor quickly. In addition, please stay here to assist in the investigation. Gong Shui was confirmed to have been poisoned and sent to the hospital. The police cordoned off the scene and checked one by one. Tao Yuan was also flustered when such a thing happened at a banquet. When it was her turn to be checked, the police found a small transparent plastic bag from her handbag. There was some powder in it. The police sniffed it. Manager Gu, do you know what this is? She shook her head. This is not mine. I don't know why it was in my bag. This bag contains highly toxic aflatoxin B1. Now we suspect that you are related to Gong Shui's poisoning case. Please come back with us to the police station to assist in the investigation. What happened? Lu Li walked over. Chief Zhang explained. We just found a packet of aflatoxin B1 in Manager Gu's bag. The champagne Gong Shui drank contains this poisonous ingredient. You mean she poisoned it? Impossible. I'm not sure, so I have to take her back to the police station first. You'd better not interfere in this matter. She is my wife. Chief Zhang was surprised. But there are so many people watching. If I don't interfere, it will be difficult. Let me go back with him to investigate. As long as I didn't do it, it will be fine. Tao Yuan said. I also want to find out who framed me as soon as possible. Lu Li nodded. Then I'll go with you. The two went to the police station together. Lu Li waited outside the interrogation room. In the interrogation room, Chief Zhang was interrogating in person. Mrs. Lu, with your identity and character, I absolutely believe that you would not do such a thing as poisoning. But Boss Lu had an affair with Gong Shui 2 days ago. In addition, aflatoxin B1 was found in your bag. The situation is very bad for you. We must handle it impartially. I hope you can cooperate. I understand. I will cooperate fully. The bag you found was not mine. I don't think any murderer would be stupid enough to leave evidence in his bag. Someone must have put it in when I wasn't paying attention. Tao Yuan recalled. I remember. When I went to the bathroom, the sink was very wet. A waitress took the initiative to help me carry the bag. It is likely that she put it in at that time. What did the waitress look like? Very, very ordinary. I have forgotten her. It was just a chance meeting. She did not pay attention to her appearance at all. Who would have thought that in just a few seconds, someone would put a highly toxic substance in her bag? This is a clue. We will send someone to investigate now. The lights in the living room were dim. Carmen was playing. It was dangerous and exciting. The air was full of the smell of conspiracy. Tao Yinran poured 2 glasses of wine and sat on Ouyang Shua's lap, revealing 2 slender and beautiful legs. The only fly in the ointment was that there was a scar on her originally flawless right leg because of the car accident. Tao Yinran stuffed the wine glass into Ouyang Shua's hand. Her eyes were seductive. Cheers? Why are you absent-minded? Is it because someone else's woman is in the police station? Do you feel bad? Tao Yinran smiled like an enchantress. Are you sure you made the right move? Ouyang Shua played with the wine glass. He was not tempted at all. Lu Li will not watch her go to jail. Of course I know that. I just don't want her life to be easy. I am afraid that you will shoot yourself in the foot. When the time comes, Lu Li will not let you have an easy life. I will not save you. Tao Yinran chuckled and rolled her eyes. I think you feel bad for her, right? You should be thanking me for my meticulous planning of this move. The more miserable and desperate she is, the more she will need you. When you save her from her suffering, she will definitely see you as a hero. Do you think Lu Li is dead? Tao Yinran did not want to hear such words. Your moves are getting more and more dangerous. Be careful not to set yourself on fire. I have been forced to this point by her. Do I have any other choice? I'm not afraid. At most, I will die with that bitch. Tao Yinran felt unlucky. She got up and walked to the side. If you want to continue working together, don't say such things that I don't like to hear. Even without you, I can still move. We are on the same boat now. I am afraid that you will be too extreme and affect my plan. Don't worry about what I want to do. Just do your job. She is already in the police station. Why aren't you stirring up the media? Are you not willing to let her go? Ouyang Shua put down the wine glass and got up. Okay, I won't provoke you. I hope you don't regret it. The entrance of the Lu family's villa was surrounded by reporters. The reporters were in a stalemate with the security guards. A limousine drove over, and the reporters swarmed the limousine, holding microphones and cameras in their hands as they chased after it. Lu Qingwan got out of the car wearing a pair of black sunglasses. Although there were several bodyguards clearing the way, there were too many reporters. She was squeezed here and there and almost suffocated. Miss Lu, what do you think about the poisoning of your sister-in-law? Are you close to her? What kind of person is she? Do you think she poisoned her? What do you think about this scandal? Buzz, buzz, buzz. The reporters bombarded Lu Qingwan with questions. Lu Qingwan was annoyed. Can't you move aside? Miss Lu, please answer. That bitch and I. Lu Qingwan swallowed the rest of the words. I don't know about this. What's her usual character like? Do you think she really poisoned her? Lu Qingwan wanted to say how was her character? Tao Yuan was the most vicious person in the world. Of course she would do something like poisoning. I don't know. How can you not know? Are you not on good terms with her? Don't you find it annoying? Lu Qingwan pushed the female reporter hard. If you want to know, go to the police station and ask her. It has nothing to do with me. Her fierce look made the reporters look at each other. No matter what, she was the daughter of a rich family. Why was she so hot-tempered? If you keep pestering me with questions, just wait for the lawyer's letter. Lu Qingwan entered the villa and the reporters were stopped outside. Third Mrs. back. Su Baiha hurriedly asked. Those reporters didn't do anything to you, right? Nothing? I was almost eaten by them. Lu Qingwan said angrily and glared at Ouyang Shura. He was like a bystander, sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed and playing with his phone. It was annoying to see. Those reporters are really like flies. I can't even chase them away. They are too daring and annoying. Su Baiha complained. Isn't it all because of that bitch? I've long said that she is a jinx and will only bring shame to our Lu family, but you still protect her. Lu Qingwan complained to Lu Yenting. I believe that Yuan Yuan is innocent. She is also a victim. To hell with the victim. I think she is obviously jealous that Gong Shui is prettier than her, so she poisoned her. She pretends to be more innocent than anyone else in front of you, but behind your back she is a snake and scorpion. What can't she do? She deserves to be locked up. It's a pity that I was implicated by her. Even going home is so troublesome. Chapter 595. All of you don't say any more. I know what's going on. Lu Yanting was not in a good mood either. Seeing that Ouyang Shua was only playing with his phone, he was even more upset. Shua, don't play with your phone. Big brother is here. What is there to worry about? Ouyang Shua's carefree manner. Besides, if I help sister-in-law, I'm afraid someone will think that I have ulterior motives. I'd better not get involved in this. Lu Qingwan couldn't help but quarrel with him again. Enough. Don't you think you have enough trouble? Ali just called me. He is dealing with this matter at the police station. Shua, see if there is anything you need help with. Oh. Ouyang Shua stood up lazily. I'll take a nap first. At the hospital. Gong Shui was out of danger. How are you feeling? Luli asked. Gong Shui's face was pale and she looked haggard. She had just escaped from the gates of hell and was still shaken and weak. I'm fine. Lu Li briefly explained the situation to her. They thought it was Mrs. Lu who poisoned you? Yes. Do you remember anything else? Gong Shui tried to recall. Mrs. Lu did give me that glass of champagne, but I don't think she is that kind of person. Maybe someone deliberately framed her. I'm not sure. No suspicious people? Gong Shui shook her head. I can't remember. Anyway, she must have given me that glass of champagne. No one else touched it. Her body suddenly felt cold and she had difficulty breathing. Gong Shui began to yawn and cold sweat appeared on her forehead. What's wrong? No, nothing. Her eyes were filled with panic and her eyes flickered. I'm very tired. She yawned again and her body began to twitch. I want to rest first. Please call my assistant. Lu Li realized that she was not right, but he didn't ask more and left the ward. Recalling Gong Shui's reaction, he felt that something was wrong. There were a few moments when he could clearly feel Gong Shui's hesitation. She could not shirk her responsibility in this matter. He took out his phone. Investigate Gong Shui's situation. In the cafe, a few women were gossiping. I heard that Gong Shui was interviewed in the hospital today. She confirmed that the champagne that poisoned her was given to her by Lu Li's wife. Is that so? Doesn't that prove that she was the one who poisoned him? That's for sure. Otherwise, why would he be poisoned for no reason? She was just on the news with Boss Lu 2 days ago, and she was suddenly poisoned. If it wasn't that woman, who else could it be? But he's not stupid enough to poison the banquet. If it were me, I would definitely find someone to teach her a lesson in private. You don't understand, do you? They wanted to use this opportunity to make an example out of Boss Lu, so that those women wouldn't dare to have any ideas about him. The Lu family was powerful and influential. They would definitely be able to settle this problem. What was there to be afraid of? Won't we just need to find some evidence in 2 days and we'll be able to release it? Tiske, that Gong Shui is so pitiful. That's why don't ever offend women, especially those rich and powerful women. They look glamorous, but in fact they're very vicious. Each one is worse than the other. Moreover, her mother is a mistress, so she's definitely not much better. You can't tell from her appearance, but she's very dark inside. That kind of woman really deserves to die. Even if she's exonerated, her reputation will be completely ruined. Isn't that right? Who would dare to get close to her in the future? Sitting by the window, Tao Yanran listened to their conversation, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a sneer. With Ouyang Shiraz fanning the flames, this had become the hottest topic. All the major media outlets were reporting on it, describing Tao Yuan as a woman with a heart of snakes and scorpions. Even if she couldn't put her in jail, she would destroy her reputation. Tao Yanran was proud of herself and called Lu Li, Ali, it's me. His voice was low and somewhat cold. How have you been recently? Tao Yanran admired the finger that had just been made, and her face was gloating. Now all the media outlets are reporting the news of Tao Yuan's poisoning. You must be very anxious. Sai, I really didn't expect this to happen. Tao Yuan is too extreme. She didn't do it. You like her, so of course you will believe her, but you must never underestimate a woman. She narrowed her eyes, like a beautiful poisonous snake. Once a woman is ruthless, she is much more ruthless than a man. She can do anything. If you're in a bad mood, I can have a drink with you. No need, I still have things to deal with. That's all. Lu Li hung up the phone. His indifference was the most infuriating to Tao Yanran. The more anxious he was about Tao Yuan, the more she wanted to disturb Tao Yuan. Although she was only cooperating with the investigation, Tao Yuan still stayed in the interrogation room for 2 days. When Lu Li came in, she was already a little tired. But she was still very happy and relieved to see him. How's the situation? Lu Li held her face in his hands and ran his fingers through her hair, feeling sorry for her. You've lost weight. It's only been 2 days. It won't be so fast. It's just a little boring here. Let's go home. Forget it. I heard that there are a lot of reporters outside now. They are there every day. Now it's the heart of the storm. Don't get caught by them. You think I can't handle them? No, but the power of public opinion is too strong now. This matter has been made all over the city. It's better to be cautious. I'm fine here. The police here are very good to me. Except that I can't go out, everything is fine. Don't worry too much. Lu Li frowned. How can I not worry when you are here alone? I'm not the one who poisoned you. I believe the truth will come to light. You will help me, right? Of course, you are my woman. I will never let you come to any harm. Lu Li held her in his arms and made a solemn promise. This time Tao Yuan didn't push him away. She hugged him back. She felt at ease as she breathed in his breath. Although he had been resisting her before, after this incident, he was the person she trusted the most. She could stay here with peace of mind because she knew that he would help her clear her name and that he had the ability to do so. She didn't know when this trust had been built, but he was the first person she thought of after the incident. She used to think that she was very strong and had a stubborn personality. But after this incident she realized that her ability was actually very weak. She could only stay here and couldn't go anywhere. If she was alone, it would be impossible to clear her name. Fortunately he was here. The two of them hugged for a long time before Luli let go of her. "Are you afraid? You are hugging me so tightly." He pinched her face and looked relaxed. He also wanted her to relax a little. "I'm not afraid. Isn't there a saying, don't be afraid of ghosts knocking on the door?" He knew that she was stubborn. "It's okay to be afraid. As long as I am here, no one can bully my wife. By the way, is there any new information?" After Gong Shui woke up, I went to find her to understand the situation. I found that she was not right. She kept yawning and twitching and was anxious to drive me away. That situation was very much like a drug addiction, so I sent someone to investigate. "She took drugs?" Luli nodded. "I really couldn't tell." Tao Yuan shook her head, feeling pity for her. "But what does this have to do with this matter?" "The surveillance video of the dinner that night has been destroyed, so there is no way to check if anyone else touched the wine glass. But there is another possibility, and that is that she poisoned herself." "How could it be? The poison is so strong. What if that kind of amount is not enough to kill her, and people can do anything when they are forced into a desperate situation? Maybe someone knew about her drug addiction and threatened her to frame you." "So complicated? The human heart is so scary." Anyway, I will investigate as soon as possible and get you out of here." The front door of the police station was surrounded by reporters, so Luli left through the back door. As soon as he went out, he saw Ouyang Shua leaning against a sports car, arms crossed and a faint smile on his face. Under the dim streetlights, the chill in that smile seeped into the bone. The two of them were a few steps apart, looking at each other. Silence. Until now, Luli could not accept this so-called younger brother who suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The two of them were very different in terms of appearance and personality. He had never considered himself a gentleman, but he was not like Ouyang Shura, who exuded a gloomy aura and gave people a feeling that he was up to no good just by looking at him. He had always disdained to use those dirty tricks of his. People with different principles could not work together, let alone be brothers. Ouyang Shura lazily straightened his body and walked over, asking in a gloating tone, "How is sister-in-law? Why the hypocrisy?" "Hypocrisy? Dad asked me to come over to see if there was anything I could help with. But with you around, there's nothing to worry about. I just came to take a look." Luli could not stand his pretentious face. "Shouldn't you be busy manipulating those reporters? What are you talking about? I don't understand." He chuckled. "People can be shameless, but if they don't even dare to admit what they have done, they can't even be called a man. If it wasn't for you manipulating behind the scenes, those reporters would not dare to expose this matter even if they were given 10,000 guts. Big brother is indeed big brother, you're so smart." Ouyang Shua patted his shoulder, but Luli pushed him away in disgust. He shrugged, not taking it to heart. "Since you already know, why didn't you take a counterattack? Could it be that you're brothers?" "Brothers? I've never taken you seriously." Luli's attitude was cold. The reason why he did not take action was because he cared about Lu Yenting's feelings. He did not want to cause a rift in front of him. He grabbed Ouyang Shua's collar and pulled him over. His dangerous face approached him, sinister and terrifying. "For the sake of our pitiful blood ties, I'll let you go this time. But don't test my bottom line again. I don't care about your dirty tricks, but once you anger me, I won't be merciful. You can't bear the consequences." After saying that, he shook him off and walked into the car. Ouyang Shua smiled and smoothed out the wrinkles on his shirt. His expression was as charming as a fox. After a long time, the smile gradually faded and became cold. At the hospital. As soon as Luli entered the ward, Gong Shui immediately sat up in excitement. Boss Lu," a flash of light flashed in her eyes and there was a hint of panic. "Waiting for someone?" Luli asked. I thought it was my assistant. He went to buy something for me." Luli closed the door and walked towards her. Chapter 596. Walking to the bed, Luli pulled a chair and sat down, crossing his legs gracefully. "Do you mind if I smoke?" He squinted his eyes, his expression unfathomable and unpredictable. It was this that made Gong Shui feel afraid. His thin and weak body, which was covered by the hospital gown, trembled slightly. "No, I don't mind." She felt as if there was a big stone pressing on her heart. She could barely breathe and felt uneasy. He didn't say anything, but she just felt that he came with ill intentions. Was it because she was guilty? His aura was too strong and the whole ward was gloomy and depressing. But she couldn't show any sign of guilt in front of him. Lu Li lit a cigarette, puffed slowly and said nothing. Gong Shue's heart was beating fast, and she tried to find a topic to talk about. The case, how is it going? Did you think of anything unusual? Gong Shui shook her head. I thought about it for a long time, but I couldn't remember anything. I've already told you and Officer Zhang what I needed to say. Oh, the smoke blurred his face, making it look more mysterious. Although I don't know Mrs. Lu well, we had a good chat that day. I feel that she is a very good person, and it's impossible for her to poison me. She must have been framed. But that glass of champagne was indeed given to me by her, and I have to tell the truth to the police. But I also said that she is definitely not the one who poisoned you. Lu Li flicked the cigarette ash, playing it down. How do you think my relationship with my wife is? Must be very good. I can see that you care about her very much. Since you know, then you should also know that I will do my best to protect her. If anyone dares to hurt her. He paused, and it was getting more and more dangerous. I will make her pay a terrible price. His tone wasn't heavy, but it made Gong Shui shiver and panic like crazy. Her fingers clenched tightly into her palms and she was trembling. She thought that she hit it well and the other party couldn't see it, but Lu Li could see her every move clearly. Oh, I know. The person who wants to frame Mrs. Lu must be miserable. Since you know, why did you do it? Meh. Gong Shui suddenly shivered and her face turned pale. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Lu Li's tone was confident, but his face had completely darkened. The surveillance footage of the banquet has been restored. No one touched that glass of champagne except for you. The slow-motion footage shows very clearly that you put the poison into the wine. No, I didn't. How could I poison myself? I'm also afraid of death. Is there some misunderstanding? Are you saying that the recording was fake? Gong Shui was already very guilty. Coupled with the conclusive video evidence, she had no way to deny it. He had already accepted his fate in his heart, but his mouth was still stubbornly resisting. I don't have any grudges with your wife, why would I harm her? But in fact, the surveillance had been completely destroyed. Lu Li was just trying to scare her. She was so guilty that she couldn't take it at all. Perhaps the person you were waiting for can give you an answer. The drug dealer is in my hands. Do you want me to hand him over to the police? Gong Shui suffered another fatal blow. She could no longer pretend. Her whole body was shaking like a sieve, as if someone was sending her to meet the Grim Reaper. You've been taking drugs for 2 years, including your drug friends. I know them like the back of my hand. Gong Shui cried. I can't help it. The pressure in this industry is too great. If I want to climb up, I have to sleep with others. I feel very uncomfortable, so I can only rely on drugs to relieve the pressure. Lu Li put out the cigarette in the ashtray and said coldly, I'm not interested in that. I just want to know who used this to frame my wife. I don't know who it is. Then you want me to expose your scandal of taking drugs now? Lu Li pretended to make a phone call. Gong Shui cried and stopped him. I'm not lying to you, I really don't know. That day, I suddenly received a call from a woman, saying that she knew that I was taking drugs and wanted to expose me. I didn't believe her, so she immediately sent me pictures. I was very afraid that if this was known, my acting career would be ruined. At first, I thought that she wanted money, but I didn't expect that she wanted me to frame Mrs. Lu. That day, she was also the one who asked me to find the reporter who secretly took pictures of us. I didn't want to do that, but I can't be ruined. But do you think that you can hide it from everyone? At that time, I didn't have time to think so much. I could only do as she said. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was wrong, please let me go. Who is that person? I don't know. We haven't met, we only contact each other on the phone. Gong Shui hurriedly gave him the number. Lu Li called it, but it was already an invalid number. He stood up, and Gong Shui was still crying and begging him to let her go, but his expression was as cold as ever. I made it very clear just now, I will not let go of anyone who hurts my wife. In the press conference 2 days later, you can clarify everything yourself. Lu Li left the ward and received a call from his subordinate. President, the waitress who helped Mrs. Lu with her bag that day was found. She was planted, and she also admitted that she put the poison in Mrs. Lu's bag. She said that someone paid her to do it, but we don't know who, we only know her number. Send it to me. After receiving the message, Lu Li made another call to the higher-ups of the security bureau. Find 2 numbers for me. No matter who was behind it, he would not be lenient. In the Pink Princess room, Lu Qingwan was complaining to a gigolo she dated a few days ago on the phone. Do you think I don't want to come out? My house is surrounded by reporters now. I can't even go out if I want to. It's so annoying. Those reporters are like flies. If it weren't for my dad, I would have found a group of people to beat them to death. It's all that bitch's fault. She deserves to be in jail and caused so much trouble for our family. She deserves to die. Was she the one who poisoned the bag? Dad, do you still need to ask? It's obvious. She is so vicious there is nothing she can't do. That kind of person should be sentenced to death. Dying 1,000 times is not enough. It's true. I feel much more comfortable when she is locked up in there these few days. I can't wait for her to be locked up forever. The door suddenly opened and Lu Li walked in. Lu Qingwan quickly hung up the phone and sat up. Brother, why didn't you knock when you came in? Who are you talking to? A friend. If you don't care about that woman, why do you have time to come to me? I thought you had long forgotten who I am. Lu Li smiled. How could I forget? But Lu Qingwan didn't notice the hidden meaning in his words. She thought that he was here to make up with her, so she proudly raised her chin. What? Now that you know her true colors and know that you like the wrong person, you realize who is really good to you and who is worthy of your love? I already said that she is not a good person. She even did something as vicious as poisoning. She is really ruthless. It's fine if she is unlucky, but even our family is implicated. You should quickly divorce her and draw a clear line. I don't want to answer any questions about her anymore. It's so annoying. Do you think she did this? Lu Qingwan rolled her eyes and said with certainty. Of course. You said that you wanted to get back together with her, and she was still pretending to want a divorce. In the end, you ignored her and went to find another woman, so she was jealous. I told you long ago that she has a poisonous heart. It's normal for her to do something like poisoning. Lu Li's expression was a little cold. Didn't you do it? Me? What are you talking about? I didn't even go to the dinner that day. How could it be me? Don't wrongly accuse me. Even now you're still lying. Lu Li was completely disappointed in her. I have already investigated the matter clearly. It was you who arranged a waitress to put the poison into Tao Yuan's bag. Lu Qingwan's face turned pale. Didn't she arrange for that woman to escape abroad? How could she still be caught? Also, they had been communicating through the phone. The other party didn't even know who she was. She even asked someone to buy the phone card for her. Such an arrangement was obviously foolproof. I don't know what you're talking about. She poisoned me, but don't think of making me take the blame. Lu Qingwan said and wanted to leave, but Lu Li grabbed her arm. You really won't repent until you see the coffin. After so many things happened, you still don't know how to repent. I didn't do it, why should I repent? Lu Qingwan struggled. Let go of me. I don't know what you're talking about. Let go. You asked a man named Chen Lang to buy the phone card, and he also confessed your relationship. You actually raised a duck. You really disappoint me. Lu Qingwan couldn't deny it and could only struggle. Let go of me, let go. Brother, you're hurting me. I warned you not to use those methods, but you had to challenge my bottom line. Do you really think I don't dare to do anything to you? It hurts. Let go. Lu Qingwan's wrist was about to break and she cried in pain. Mom, Nanny Li, save me. Let go of me, she cursed in pain. So what if I did it? She deserved it. I hate her. Slap. Lu Qingwan was slapped hard on the face and she fell to the ground. Her mouth was bleeding, and she covered her red and swollen face, crying and screaming like a madwoman. You hit me again. You doted on me the most when we were young and you protected me when Dad scolded me, but you hit me because of her. I hit you because you're sinister and vicious. You're only 20 years old, how did you become like this? I can't believe it. Lu Li was so angry that his hands were shaking. If she wasn't his biological sister, he would have thrown her into the Huangpu River to feed the fishes. I was forced. Ever since that woman came into the family, my mom and I never had a good day. I wanted her dead. Even if it was 1,000 times or 10,000 times, she and I will not coexist. So you colluded with others to frame her? Who was it? Tao Yanran? Lu Qingwan bit her lips and denied it. I've never seen her, but Lu Li knew her too well, and the flash of guilt in her eyes allowed him to see through everything. He only found out that the phone card that contacted the waitress was Lu Qingwan's, and the other one had been cancelled, so he couldn't find it. But it was obvious that Tao Yanran was another person. She used the drug issue to manipulate Gong Shui to poison herself, and Lu Qingwan was responsible for arranging the waitress. Chapter 597. I already know what's going on. Is there any use in denying it? Lu Qingwan went all out. So what if it's us? It's Tao Yuan who deserves to die. You and Sister Yanran have been dating for so many years, but you abandoned her for Tao Yuan. Do you think she won't hate you? Also, Tao Yuan doesn't treat Mom and me well. It's normal for us to want to kick her out. Most importantly, she made you a cuckold. I don't know how you can bear it, but I definitely can't swallow this. I'm taking revenge for you. How can you turn around and deal with me? What medicine did she give you to make you like this? You really don't repent. Lu Li couldn't be bothered to talk to her anymore. You became like this because of the lack of discipline. Next month, I will send you to the strictest girls' school in England. I can't control you, but they will do it for me. Lu Qingwan's eyes widened in shock. She felt that the sky was about to collapse. You want to kick me out? Do you think I dare to go to that kind of place? What's the difference between that and going to jail? If you continue to stay here, it will only destroy you. It's all an excuse. You're doing this for Tao Yuan. Lu Qingwan sat on the ground and cried. I'm your sister. How can you treat me like this? Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? I won't go even if I die. I've already decided. You have to go even if you don't want to. Lu Li had completely given up on her. Also, before I see the changes in you, I will pretend that I don't have you as my sister. Tao Yanran received a call from Lu Li asking her out for dinner. She was a little surprised, but she still gladly went. She dressed herself up and admired herself in the mirror. A purple gown outlined her slim and exquisite curves. She was tall and slender. Her makeup was sexy and flirtatious. Every frown and smile was enough to make any man lose his soul and kneel at her feet to lick her. She was so beautiful. How could she lose to Tao Yuan? Lu Li would definitely fall in love with her again. Tao Yanran thought proudly and was about to go out when she suddenly received a call from Lu Qingwan. She had a bad feeling about this. Lu Li was the only one in the 5-star Western restaurant. He sat by the window. The 360-degree revolving restaurant allowed him to overlook the night view of the entire city. Tao Yanran straightened her back, walked over gracefully and sat down. Why did you suddenly invite me to dinner at such a romantic place? You didn't come to see me when I was discharged, so I thought you would never take the initiative to look for me again. Lu Li didn't say anything and poured her a glass of wine. It's a nice view, isn't it? Tao Yanran took off her coat, revealing the sexy purple dress underneath. Her long, wavy hair cascaded down her shoulders, making her look extremely charming. It's been a long time since we had a candlelit dinner. This is my last meal. Take it as a farewell. Send him off. But she had never said anything about leaving. So he was chasing her away? Tao Yanran's heart skipped a beat. Although she had expected it, the result was more terrible than she had imagined. She widened her beautiful eyes and didn't know what to say. Lu Li's eyes were cold, as if he was looking at a stranger. There was no trace of emotion in his eyes. Tao Yanran was very sad, but she managed to maintain a smile. Are you going to completely break off relations with me? Never to see each other again? Lu Li didn't deny it. He just said, Qingwan should have told you that I will send her to the British girls' school next month for strict management. Tao Yanran didn't deny it. When she went out to answer the phone, Lu Qingwan was crying on the other side, scolding her for not having a good plan and causing her to be driven to the United Kingdom. She was so noisy that she almost went deaf. Isn't it too cruel for you to be a big brother? I'm doing it for her own good. If she continues to stay in the country, she will only become worse. Lu Li had always known that Lu Qingwan was unruly, but he always thought that she was young and insensible. So when he heard that she often went to bars and kept male prostitutes, he was really angry. If he continued to indulge her like this, he would destroy her sooner or later. Then have you ever considered your mother's feelings? You and Tao Yuan have already broken her heart. If you send Qingwan abroad, how sad will your mother be? That's our family's matter. Tao Yanran shrugged. Since you have decided, then I won't worry about it. So now you still want to drive me away? Didn't you get used to it in the United States? Used to it? Ha, you have no idea what kind of life I lived over there. I thought about you every day and looked forward to returning to your side every day. That was the only motivation for me to live. I had so many excellent pursuers around me. Why didn't I get married? I was waiting for you. Do you know? But I didn't expect you to abandon me so cruelly. Tao Yinran was a little emotional. I can understand that you have a grudge against me, but I won't allow you to use despicable means to hurt Tao Yuan. You arranged the car accident with Fang Yicheng, and with this incident, I really didn't expect you to become like this. Tao Yinran took a sip of red wine and smiled carelessly. What's so surprising about it? I've said it before. Jealousy will make a woman vicious and do anything. Didn't Tao Yuan use many despicable means to snatch you away? This is called giving her a taste of her own medicine. Back then she broke us apart. I left for 3 years. Now that I'm back, shouldn't you divorce her and be with me again? At first, Tao Yinran was very confident in his feelings, so he thought that it was natural for them to get back together. However, after I broke up with you, I was depressed for a period of time. I still love you, but since we broke up, I never thought about getting back together. If you still love me, why can't we continue to be together? Breaking up is breaking up. Even if we get back together, we can't go back to the past. Why not? You're still you and I'm still me. It's not important anymore. Then what's important? The important thing is that you love Tao Yuan now and want to break up with me, right? How can you be so cruel to me? Not only me but your mother and sister also hate Tao Yuan. There's a reason for that. Why don't you think from our point of view? Don't you think you're too partial to her? Love is blind and selfish. I just want to protect the woman I love. Tao Yinran still couldn't help crying. So now you're willing to hurt us and betray us for her? Everyone has to pay the price for what they've done. If it wasn't you and Qingwan who framed her, I would have. What? You'd kill both of us? Luli was silent. Tao Yinran smiled bitterly. Do you know? Once you fall in love, it's really cruel. But I've always thought that I'd be someone you'd love, but I didn't expect that you'd kill me for another woman. If I wanted to kill you, it wouldn't just be like this. This is the last time I remember our relationship. You're on your own. Luli finished his glass of wine and left. Tao Yinran chased after him. Tao Yinran chased after him and hugged Luli tightly from behind. She begged in tears. Don't go, don't leave me. She didn't realize how much she loved this man until the moment when he wanted to completely cut off their relationship. She really regretted it. If she hadn't been seduced by Ouyang Shua that night, she wouldn't have been caught by Tao Yuan. They'd be married now. She was the happiest woman in the world. How she wished she could go back to that night and not beg him to stay like this. She cried very sadly, but it didn't arouse Lu Li's sympathy. Sympathy for the conspirators was cruelty to the weak. He wouldn't allow them to hurt Tao Yuan again. A cold voice came out from his throat. Let go. No, I won't let go. I won't let you go even if I die. Ali, I know I've done a lot of wrong things, but I really love you. I just didn't want you to be taken away by her, so I took such extreme measures. If you came back to me at the beginning, I wouldn't have dealt with her. You think I'm very hateful now, but have you forgotten that she killed our child? Do I deserve to suffer all that pain and suffering? Why can you forgive her and fall in love with her, but you won't give me a chance? Jealousy can make a woman crazy. I was just blinded by hatred for a moment. Can you give me a chance to correct myself? She clasped her hands tightly and refused to let him go. We're over. I've already told you that clearly. But in my heart it's never over. You're still mine. No matter how you treat me, I always feel that we'll be together in the end. No, never. In this life I only love Tao Yuan. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. What's so good about her? How can I not be compared to her? Even if you save her and clarify that she wasn't the one who poisoned you, no one will believe you. Everyone will think that you used money to get her off the hook. She is now a woman with a bad reputation and she will destroy you. I don't care. I don't care what other people think. Even if the whole world despises her, I will stay by her side. And I will cherish her more than ever, protect her and love her. Tao Yinran cried her heart out and her hands trembled. Let go. He coldly said. I don't want. Let go. He tried to break her fingers. I don't want. Don't leave me. Ali. I beg you. Tao Yinran desperately held on tightly, but Luli still broke her fingers. I've already begged you like this. What else do you want me to do? She shouted at him. How are you going to hurt me? I never wanted to hurt you. I just want to protect the people I love. Ali, I beg you, Ali. Don't leave me. She tried to make him stay, but Luli avoided her. She sat at his feet and cried her heart out. You and I are completely over. From now on, I don't want to see you again. After saying this, Luli strode away. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window, neon lights flashed. It was so prosperous that it didn't look like the human world. But this gorgeous exterior was wrapped in heartbreak and despair. Tao Yinran heard the sound of her heart dying. He had taken her heart and destroyed her love for him. All that was left in that pitch-black and empty chest was endless hatred. Chapter 598. That night, Gong Shui held a press conference and admitted that she had poisoned the champagne to frame Tao Yuan. She also announced that she would leave the entertainment industry forever. At this time, Tao Yuan had already left the police station. She took a shower and sat on the sofa to watch the news. Lu Li handed her a glass of warm milk. Whether Gong Shui was acting or not, seeing her crying so miserably, Tao Yuan couldn't help but sympathize with her. She was a big star with a promising future, but she ended up like this. It's quite pitiful. She framed you and you still say that she is pitiful? Are you overflowing with sympathy? I have already been merciful by not exposing her drug use. She is still so young. There is no need to completely cut off her escape route. Besides, she was just used. Tao Yuan still believed in one saying, one should forgive people whenever possible. There was no need to force people to death if there was no deep hatred. Why don't you ask me who is behind this? Do you even need to ask? It is either your mother, your sister, or Tao Yinran. Or they are working together. Tao Yinran will return to the US soon. As for Qingwan, I will send her to the British girls' school next month. Tao Yuan was a little surprised that he was so cruel. Is it worth it to drive away two women who are important to you for me? No one is more important than you right now. He touched her furry head and said softly. But are you willing to do it? Why not? Tao Yinran and I are already over. She will not give up if I stay here. And Qingwan needs the strictest discipline, or she will only destroy herself. This was his decision. Tao Yuan didn't want to express any opinion. I forgot to thank you for helping me. If it weren't for you, I would still be locked up in the police station. I don't know how to get out of this. Are you mocking me? She tilted her head and her expression was a little cute. Why do you say that? It's because I caused you so much trouble. Lu Li was very sincere a second ago, but he couldn't help but tease her the next second. But it's not my fault that I am so charming. I'm also very helpless. Stop being so narcissistic. She kicked at him and he grabbed her leg and put it on his lap. Hey, put it down. But not only did he not let go, he even grabbed her little foot and kissed it. Tao Yuan's face turned even redder. Kissing her feet made her shiver as if she had been electrocuted. She was extremely embarrassed. Why are you, again? She glared at him coyly. I can't help it. Who told you to be so beautiful? I can't help myself. You've only been serious for a minute, and you're acting like a hooligan again. My heart aches for you. I've suffered a lot when you were locked up in the police station for 2 days. Actually, it's not a big deal to be locked up. The scariest thing in that place is to be hopeless. But I've always believed that you would get me out, so I'm not worried at all. I'm not afraid at all. I can calmly wait for the day when my name is cleared. You trust me that much? Tao Yuan knew that she shouldn't tell the truth, but she couldn't help but nod. Yes, I trust you. I believe that you won't abandon me. I know that when I was locked up, you must be racing against time to investigate, so I feel at ease. Thank you for being willing to trust me so much. Lu Li smiled, feeling a great sense of relief. Then, on the basis of trust, can you give me another chance? At the mention of this, the topic became a little heavy. Lu Li didn't want to give her any pressure. All right, I'm not asking you to give me a chance so soon, but at least move back here for a while. Before Qingwan and Tao Yinran go abroad, it's safest at home. Otherwise, I don't know what they will suddenly do. With someone taking care of me at home, I'll feel more at ease. Tao Yuan hesitated for a while. What you said makes sense. I promise you. During dinner, the whole family gathered, each with their own thoughts. Tao Yuan said, Dad, this matter has caused a lot of trouble for the family. I'm sorry. Lu Yanting shook his head. We're all family. Why say such words? Besides, you were framed and you've suffered a lot. Su Baihe snorted. You treat her like a treasure, but it doesn't mean that I can pretend that nothing has happened. Because of her, there have been so many reporters outside these few days. I'm almost schizophrenic. It's not Yuan's fault. Didn't you see the news? She's the victim. That's not what you said. Who knows what the truth is? Su Baihe said in a strange tone. Time reveals a person's heart. I'm too lazy to pursue these trivial matters. But there's one thing I must make clear. As long as I'm here, no one can chase my daughter away. When Su Baihe said this, she glared at Lu Li. Her attitude was obviously very dissatisfied. But Lu Li's expression remained the same. He scooped a bowl of soup for Tao Yuan. What are you talking about? Who wants to chase Qingwan away? Lu Yanting asked in confusion. Next month I'll send her to the British girls' school. Lu Li replied lightly. Lu Yanting was surprised. Why didn't you discuss this with me? It's because of lack of discipline that she became like this. If she doesn't receive strict education, she'll be ruined sooner or later. Do you think I don't know how to teach her? I've been teaching Qingwan all these years. Which one of you father and son has worried about her? Even if she did something wrong, don't you have any responsibility? If I don't teach her well, it's my fault alone, isn't it? Lu Li met Su Baihe's angry gaze. Right now, I'm fulfilling my responsibility as the eldest brother. That's an excuse. You're doing it for this woman? Su Baihe pointed at Tao Yuan and roared. She's the one who should get out the most. She's my wife. So what about you? You've been bewitched by this vixen. It doesn't matter if you're deserted by everyone, right? You can chase Qingwan away today. Are you going to chase me away tomorrow? As long as they're against her, you'll chase them all away. Lu Li's attitude was clear. My choice is the right one. You guys don't know her nature at all. I can't even say those things out loud. Lu Qingwan lowered her head and cried as if she had suffered a great grievance. I don't care. Anyway, with me here, no one can chase my daughter away. You're not in charge of this family. You don't have that authority. I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave this place. I won't leave even if I die, Lu Qingwan cried and hugged Su Baihe tightly. Mom, help me. I don't want to leave you. Su Baihe's heart ached. Good daughter, don't be afraid. With Mom here, no one can bully you. Oh, Mom, this decision won't change. Lu Li was still firm. I've said it before. As the eldest brother, you don't have the authority to decide whether she stays or leaves. Both sides were in a deadlock. The smell of gunpowder was getting thicker and thicker. Tao Yuan was a little worried. Su Baihe kept shouting at the top of her lungs. Lu Li's attitude was calm, but he was also very firm. He refused to give in at all. The smell of gunpowder was very heavy. Su Baihe almost flipped the table. Enough. Stop quarreling. Lu Yanting slammed the table. If Ali doesn't have the authority, then do I, as a father, have the authority? Su Baihe felt like she was struck by lightning. Her face turned pale. What did you say? I agree with Ali's decision. You've all been bewitched by this vixen. Now, you only want her to stay and chase everyone else away, right? Even if Ali didn't say it, I already had this thought. Lu Yanting looked coldly at the sobbing Lu Qingwan. A loving mother leads to a spoiled child. She became like this all because of you. She doesn't learn anything good and only knows how to stir up trouble. I didn't say it, but do you think I don't know who poisoned her? You're so vicious at such a young age. If it was in the past, you would have been beaten to death by me. I've already decided. You don't have to say anything more. I don't want to go. Mom, save me, Lu Qingwan wailed like a ghost. I don't want to go. She ran over and knelt beside Lu Yanting, hugging his thigh and begging. I know I was wrong, please give me another chance. I beg you. I don't want to go. I'll change, I swear, she cried pitifully with snot and tears, but no matter how Tao Yuan looked at her, she felt that she was acting. Regardless of whether she was acting or not, she didn't deserve any sympathy. She even wanted to inhumanly laugh. Both father and son were right, they couldn't forgive Lu Qingwan just because she was young. On the contrary, if she was so vicious at such a young age, she should be harshly disciplined. Otherwise, who knew how she would harm society in the future? Qingwan, don't beg them. With Mom here, no one can chase you away. Su Baihe helped her up from the ground. Don't cry. Mom, quickly persuade Dad. Sob, sob, sob. Lu Qingwan wept as she left. Lu Yanting shook his head. What a foul atmosphere, this family is about to be destroyed by them. Ouyang Shua didn't say a word, he had a gloating expression as if he was enjoying a farce. Lu Yanting glared at him unhappily. What are you laughing at? You'll be happy if this family is torn apart, right? What are you talking about? I don't know how much I want this family to be harmonious. I'm happy for my dear sister. I hope she can go to England to turn over a new leaf and come back to be a new person. Lu Yanting didn't know what to do with his cheeky smile. Dad, don't be angry. Tao Yuan comforted him softly. I'm not going to work today, I'll play chess with you. Lu Yanting nodded. In this family you're the only one who doesn't make me worry the others? But Ali is becoming more and more sensible, seeing that the relationship between you and your husband is getting better. I feel comforted. Lu Li gently held Tao Yuan's hand under the table. She struggled for a while but couldn't break free, so she gave up resisting. The corners of the man's mouth curled up into a gentle smile. I'll take good care of her. Alright, Dad, I'm going to move back for a while. That's great, Ouyang Shua shouted. Welcome. Sister-in-law, now that you're back, the house will be even more lively. Tao Yuan always felt that he was up to no good no matter what he said. Anyway, when she heard his voice, she couldn't help but have goosebumps, feeling gloomy. Why are you happy that she's back? Ouyang Shua smiled. Just now you said that I'm gloating now that I welcome sister-in-law back. You say that I shouldn't be happy. Is everything I do wrong? Chapter 599. After dinner, Lu Li was called to the study by Lu Yenting. Tao Yuan did not want to stay in the living room with Ouyang Shua, so she went to the garden to enjoy the breeze. She had lived in this place for a year and had lived a hellish life for a whole year. Now that she thought about it, she felt terrified. She didn't dare to think about how she had survived. She was lucky that she hadn't been killed by the evil mother and daughter. Even if Lu Qingwan left, there was still Su Baihe. There would be other troubles in the future. Was it the right choice for her to stay? Thinking about it, her heart started to feel heavy again. A hand patted her from behind, giving her a fright. What are you thinking about? Why are you so engrossed? Ouyang Shua smiled and stood behind her with his arms crossed. He was calm and his eyes were like stars. Why are you so quiet when you walk? Are you trying to scare me to death? You were too engrossed and did not hear me. Seeing him, Tao Yuan's heart felt even more suffocated. Are you trying to get back together with me? What? Are you trying to get back together with someone? He asked again. That's my business, it has nothing to do with you. Tao Yuan wanted to leave, but Ouyang Shua took a step forward and blocked her way. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you trying to get back together? He was very persistent about the answer to this question. If it was, then he would be very disappointed. Why are you always pestering me like a fly? Tao Yuan was very impatient. Tiske, people say that women are made of water, but why are you so aggressive? How did I offend you? Back to the topic, are you trying to get back together? Because he saved the damsel in distress, your little heart was touched and you want to get back together? Tao Yuan was annoyed. She could not break out of this. From a brother-in-law's point of view, this is good news. After all, a peaceful family will prosper. Although he said so, it gave people a feeling of hypocrisy, as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. But for you, it is not necessarily so. Just because he saved you once, you will forget all the pain he caused you before? Forget the 3 years of pain? Forget how he humiliated you? Tao Yuan, do you still have principles? If you forgive me so easily, I will look down on you. Whether I have principles or not is my business. Since when did you have to worry about it? I don't need you to respect me. He didn't answer her question. Instead, he wrapped his arms around her and continued to talk to himself. He's only being nice to you now because he hasn't gotten you yet, so he's trying his best to please you. He wants to show how remorseful he is. And then? What will I do to you after I get it? Have you thought about it? Actually, you don't even have to think about it. His poor ex-girlfriend is the best example. I believe he once loved her very much, but now he can still be so heartless to her, just like how he was heartless to you for her. So in the end, this man doesn't love anyone but himself. Don't be silly. You'll regret giving your happiness to a selfish man. He said a lot, but Tao Yuan didn't want to listen because every word poked at her weakness. When she was swaying these days, she had been thinking about the past, using the pain of the past to remind herself that she couldn't fall in love with him again. But when these words came out of Ouyang Shua's mouth, it hurt even more, making her panic and want to escape. Don't say any more. I don't want to hear it. Why don't you want to hear it? Why run away? Why don't you refute me? Aren't you very good at talking? Refute me. Say that Lu Li is worthy of your love. Say that getting back together with him is the best choice. Say it. Get out of my way. Tao Yuan couldn't help but push him hard. Whether I'm doing well or not, it's my business what happens to me and Lu Li. Why do you always like to meddle in other people's business? You think you're very smart and capable, that you can see through everything about others, and that you feel a sense of accomplishment when you criticize other people's lives, right? It's easy for you to say that. You're the smartest person in the world. When you're angry, you're like an angry kitten. It's very cute. He couldn't help touching her head, but Tao Yuan slapped him away. Don't touch me. I'll say it again. My business has nothing to do with you. How is it unrelated? I don't know how much I care about you. Ouyang Shua's smile was still very frivolous, but he knew that he was just using this cynical tone to cover up his seriousness. He didn't want her to see through his feelings because he didn't want to face it himself. Recently, he had been reminding himself that he couldn't fall in love with this woman, over and over again. Just like when she was framed, he had been worried for a few days and stayed outside the police station for at least a few hours every night, doing nothing but looking at her interrogation room. He knew that she would be fine, but when he thought of her in there, he felt very upset and distressed. Of course, Tao Yuan didn't know the feelings he was suppressing in his heart. In her opinion, there was only a conspiracy in his heart. Don't say such disgusting words. You don't know love at all. You don't know what sincerity is at all. Everything you do is just for revenge. What right do you have to mock Lu Li? So what if he's like what you say? At least when I was in trouble, he tried his best to help me, but you only looked on coldly and gloated. Compared to you who only knows how to use your mouth to mock others and do nothing, he's much more noble. He's noble? He doesn't know how selfish he is. There isn't a single person with the surname Lu, they're all bastards. You have the blood of the Lu family flowing in your body, so how good are you? At least other people are openly cruel, unlike you who only know how to play tricks behind people's backs. You're just like a jumping clown, it's ridiculous. Ouyang Shua was truly provoked by her words to the point that he was a little irritated. I'm a jumping clown? Ha, at least I know what I want, but you're swaying left and right. Don't you think it's even more sad? Are you Lu Li's pet? When he treats you better, you forget everything and start to wag your tail at him. Or do you like to give a slap as a reward of a candy? Do you enjoy the pleasure of being abused? It's exciting, isn't it? Are all women so cheap? Whether I'm cheap or not is my business. You should take care of yourself first. I don't think you're very smart, nor do I think you're living a good life. In my opinion, you're living a mess. It's a tragedy to live with hatred, and you're continuing the tragedy of the previous generation to this day. It's a tragedy from beginning to end. You're so pitiful. With that, she pushed him away with her body and ran away without looking back. Ouyang Shua's heart ached. Tao Yuan was afraid that Ouyang Shua would chase after her, so she rushed upstairs and only calmed down after a long time. When she came out of the shower, Lu Li was already in the room. She was wrapped tightly in coral velvet pajamas, and the pink color made her skin look like a peeled egg, pink and tender. The two of them had slept in the same room many times. In addition, they were wearing more clothes, so Tao Yuan was more used to it than before. She was very comfortable drying her hair with a towel. What did Dad say? Nothing special. He just asked about our relationship and whether we're back together. Then how did you answer? I said soon. Tao Yuan was putting on toner and smiled at him in the mirror. Aren't you afraid of disappointing him? I'm confident that I won't let him down. Don't say some things too early, or you'll be slapped in the face in the end. If you don't want your man to lose face, then... He leaned against her from behind, his two long arms on the vanity, almost trapping her in the crook of his arms. His freshly showered body exuded a fragrance. Why don't you fulfill my wish? In your dreams? Stay away from me. She wriggled twice. His strong body pressed against her. Her stomach was against the vanity, and her body was half bent. You're the one who's acting like a hooligan now, okay? You're the one who teased me first. Stop it. Tao Yuan pushed him with the back of her hand and escaped from his arms. Lu Li did not chase after her. He took out a quilt from the closet. Are you sleeping in the guest room tonight? Of course I want to sleep here. If you're willing? She smiled and waved goodbye. Shouldn't you be trying your best to make me stay? It's rare for you to be so self-conscious. Why should I make you stay? She blinked innocently and her smile was a little sly. You know that I'm making concessions in order to advance. I'm not as cunning as you. If you want to go, go quickly. I need to rest. You woman. Lu Li could not stand it anymore. He threw the quilt down and pulled her over. Hey, let go, you're so annoying. Escape? Where do you want to escape to? He held her waist and did not let go. He lowered his head to kiss her. Do you think you can escape in my territory? His breath was so hot and Tao Yuan was so ticklish. Stop it. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, I'll chase you back. Don't ever think of escaping from me. The man ordered domineeringly and his tone was fiery. While she was struggling, the towel that was wrapped around her head fell to the ground. Her hair fell down and scattered around her cheeks. A few strands of hair stuck to her cheeks, making her look even sexier. Her fair and flawless skin, her pink and soft lips, and her sweet breath, everything bewitched Lu Li, and he could not control himself. Tao Yuan was also scorched by his gaze. Her heartbeat quickened and her breathing became messy. Her brain was numb and she could not think. When he looked at her with this kind of gaze as if she was the only one who could do it, it was so charming, she swallowed her saliva subconsciously, and the push became soft. "You, what about me?" He pressed against her and their bodies were stuck together without any gap. Sometimes it was light and sometimes it was heavy. "What about me? Are you mute? You can't speak anymore." Tao Yuan only felt that it was so hot. "Aren't you going to sleep in the guest room? Let go of me." Her voice was stuttering. "Who wants to sleep in the guest room? That's called the trick of injuring myself to gain sympathy. You're so lame. That trick doesn't work on me. I know you're a woman with a heart of stone." Lu Li held her face with one hand and his fingers tightened. Her soft and delicate skin was about to melt like milk between his fingers. His eyes were so captivating, like a deep pool that could suck her in. Tao Yuan lowered her head, trying to avoid his gaze. "Why don't you dare to look at me?" "I'm not. I just don't want to look at you, She let out a muffled groan because he had held her whole face. It was a little painful, but even that kind of pain was stimulating. Her body was throbbing uncontrollably. Tao Yuan thought to herself, could it really be like what he said, that all women have a penchant for being abused? Otherwise, why would she be so excited? Chapter 600. You're shy. I'm not. She denied it in a hurry, but her face turned even redder. Then why are you blushing? Who's blushing? I'm not blushing. Can you let me go? Let you go? Don't you know that you'll only make me more excited when you beg me with such a soft and cute voice? I'm not soft. But she felt that her voice sounded coy, like she was grumbling, but it was clearly not like that. She really wanted to avoid him. Don't avoid your feelings. Your body likes my caress. The hand that was on her waist suddenly landed on her buttocks, lifting her whole body up. Tao Yuan let out a low scream. Whether you like me or not, you'll know after you try. With that, he lowered his head. Tao Yuan had nowhere to hide and was stunned. Their hot breaths intertwined. The two of them were about to kiss. Knock knock. The knocking on the door interrupted the confusion in the room. Tao Yuan woke up instantly and struggled with a low cry. Let me go. Someone's here. Lu Li was extremely frustrated and cursed in a low voice. Why was it that every time the atmosphere reached the climax, there would always be someone to ruin his good time? Couldn't he just let him have his way once? If this went on, he would really be impotent. He reluctantly let go and went to open the door. At the door, Ouyang Shua leaned against the porch and asked with a friendly smile, Do you want some fruit? Lu Li almost threw a punch at him. To hell with the fruit, he was deliberately ruining his good time. Ouyang Shua did have that idea. Anyway, when he saw Lu Li enter the room, he was very unhappy at the thought of him and Tao Yuan alone in the room. He kept guessing what they were doing in the room, whether they did it or not. Thinking about it made him very angry, as if his woman was touched by someone else. He would go crazy if he did not destroy it. Lu Li did not say a word and directly used his eyes to kill. Ouyang Shua was almost frozen in his eyes. He shrugged and raised his hand to surrender. Okay, seems like you don't need it. Then I'll just take it as me being meddlesome. He said sloppily. You have such a bad temper. Eat more fruits to cool it down. He looked inside and saw that Tao Yuan was dressed neatly. He felt a little better. Lu Li moved to the right, blocking his line of sight. Ouyang Shua smiled and left. The atmosphere was destroyed. Tao Yuan was already on guard. It was impossible for Lu Li to confuse her anymore. Finally, she stuffed the quilt into his hands. Either you sleep in the guest room or I go back to the apartment. Pick one. The man wasn't willing to choose either. He was very depressed. Can't you bend the rules for once? One night? Not even half a night, not even an hour. Good night. She shooed him out of the room. Lu Li glanced downstairs at Ouyang Shua, who was looking at him gloatingly. He frowned. He slept soundly. The next morning, the sun shone brightly. Dad, good morning. Tao Yuan glanced at Lu Li. He pulled out the chair next to him like a gentleman. She had to sit down facing Ouyang Shua. Morning. Lu Yenting grinned. You can stay at home from now on. I'm happy when you're at home. As long as you're happy. Lu Yanting glanced at the 2 empty seats. Where are they? Madam said last night, she and third miss won't have breakfast today. Why are you throwing a tantrum? Tell them to come down and tell them I said it. But, the maid had to do as she was told. After a while, Su Baihe went downstairs reluctantly. But Lu Qingwan didn't come down for a long time. The maid screamed from the second floor. Oh no, third miss has committed suicide. In the hospital. Lu Qingwan had swallowed too many sleeping pills and was being resuscitated. Su Baihe cried her heart out. She grabbed Tao Yuan, yelled and cursed and pulled her violently. It's all because of you, you're a jinx. Now that something has happened to my daughter, you're happy? If there's anything, come at me. Why do you have to deal with her? Why aren't you dead? You bitch. If anything happens to Qingwan, I'll kill you. Lu Li protected Tao Yuan while Ouyang Shua pulled Su Baihe away. Su Baihe was too upset and fainted. Lu Qingwan was still being resuscitated. The sky was clear in the morning, but now the weather was gloomy. The entire corridor was dark, giving off a gloomy and depressing feeling. The thick smell of medicine in the air was suffocating. Lu Li sat in the corridor and smoked. He smoked so fiercely that there were cigarette butts under his feet. Tao Yuan bought a cup of warm milk and handed it to him. He shook his head, his tone a little irritated. I don't want to drink it. You're trembling. Lu Li sighed and rubbed his hair in frustration. It's all my fault. It's not your fault. No one would have thought that with her personality she would commit suicide. At first, Tao Yuan thought that she was pretending. Later, when she saw the doctor's expression, she realized how serious the situation was. She really didn't expect Lu Qingwan to be so extreme and threaten to kill herself. She didn't look like someone who would end her life so easily. I was very angry after what she did and shouted that I wanted to break off relations with her, but she's my sister. How could I not want her? I sent her to England to be educated because I didn't want her to be ruined like this. I understand. You're a good brother. Lu Li shook his head. I'm not. If I was a good brother, she wouldn't be like this. When he closed his eyes, he saw Lu Qingwan's pale face. Thinking of the scenes when they were young, Lu Li's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. No matter how willful Lu Qingwan was, she was still a good sister. On the contrary, he cared too little for her. She had gone down the wrong path. He shouldn't have blamed her and sent her abroad to be disciplined. If he had taught her personally, the situation might have been different. But there was no such thing as if in the world. No one could have predicted that such a situation would happen. Lu Li held his head and was in pain. Tao Yuan didn't know how to comfort him. Right and wrong, it wasn't a simple question of right or wrong. The most complicated thing was the entanglement between family members. Now they could only wait. The red light in the operating room dimmed and the doctor walked out. Lu Li was the first to rush over, but the doctor shook his head. The patient took too many strong sleeping pills. The rescue was ineffective. I'm sorry, my condolences. Tao Yuan was stunned and couldn't believe what she had heard. Yesterday Lu Qingwan was still crying. She was a good person, but she died just like that. Boom! Lightning flashed through the dark sky and the entire corridor was pale. Ouyang Shua pushed the door open and walked into the bedroom. He was drenched in the rain and his jacket was dripping. In the dark room, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled outside the window. Tao Yinran was curled up in the corner. Her arms were tied tightly and she was injecting drugs into herself. Ouyang Shua was shocked. He rushed over and grabbed the syringe, throwing it aside and shouting. What are you doing? You're crazy. Tao Yinran's hair was disheveled. Her eyes were sunken and her smile was like a ghost. Isn't it just taking drugs? What's there to be surprised about? How can you touch that kind of thing? Do you want to kill yourself? Living is too painful. Only drugs can make me happy now. Do you understand? Tao Yinran was already in a trance. She smiled foolishly. Only when I take drugs can I forget everything. Ouyang Shua was heartbroken. He closed his eyes and clenched his fist. Lu Qingwan is dead. Oh really? That's great. She's free now. You gave her those sleeping pills? He's smart. She cried and begged me to help her last night, so I told her to take the sleeping pills and pretend to be dead. That coward is very afraid of death, but there was no other way. I promised her that the sleeping pills were very weak and wouldn't kill her. It was just to scare Lu Li. How could she know that I gave her the strongest sleeping pills? Ah, aren't I very powerful? You've already lost your mind. That's a human life. So, A person like Lu Qingwan is a danger to society even if she's alive. I'm helping her. Why are you so angry? Don't you hate the people from the Lu family? You should thank me for helping you take revenge. At least I won't kill anyone. Don't make it sound so noble. You won't kill anyone directly, but you can make them feel more pain than death. Have you experienced the feeling of despair? If you have, then you'll understand me. I've already knelt by his feet and begged him to leave, but he's still so cruel. Since he treated me like that, I won't go easy on him. I want him to taste pain. He killed his own sister with his own hands. He won't be able to live in peace for the rest of his life. I want him to suffer as much as I do. You're too scary now. Yeah. But I'm happy this way. I lost him because I was too weak before. Now I'm going to take him back. When the people around him leave him one by one, I'll be the only one left. He'll come back to me. Tao Yinran crawled toward the syringe, but Ouyang Shua crushed it with his foot. What are you doing? She screamed at him crazily. That's my only happiness. Are you going to destroy that as well? You're destroying yourself now. You can't go on like this. I'll send you to rehab. I don't want to. Let go of me. Let go. She struggled violently, kicking and biting. Let go of me. She broke free from his hand and shrank back in horror. I don't have anything now. I only have this. Don't care about me anymore. Go. I don't want to see you again. Go. Whatever happens to me in the future has nothing to do with you. For a whole week, Lu Li locked himself in the room, not eating or drinking. Tao Yuan's heart was also suffering. She walked into the room with a tray. The dusk sky was gray. Lu Li's lonely figure was deep in the sofa, exuding an aura of despair as if he was dead. Tao Yuan put the tray on the coffee table and half knelt in front of him. His eyes were dull, without a trace of focus. For a week after Lu Qingwan's funeral, he was like this, as if his soul was taken away. Tao Yuan gently put her hand on the back of his hand. Her fingers were cold. Ali, as soon as she opened her mouth, her voice was also choked. I've cooked soup for you. Can you eat a little? I'm not hungry. After a long time, his hoarse response came. But you'll collapse sooner or later. It's all my fault, he murmured. It's all my fault. These days he kept repeating these words. Tao Yuan also hoped that this was just a nightmare. She didn't get along with Lu Qingwan, but she didn't want her to die. She was still so young. She could still turn over a new leaf. She didn't believe that a person like Lu Qingwan would choose to commit suicide. She even asked the forensic doctor to check carefully. It was confirmed that she died from overdosing on sleeping pills. There was no doubt. Chapter 601. It's an accident. No one can think of it. It's useless for you to be so sad now. Don't be like this. Cheer up, okay? Your parents still need you to take care of them. Ali. Lu Li closed his eyes. His eyelashes were a little wet and he was choking with sobs. How is my mom? She was very emotional when she woke up. The doctor injected her with a sedative. It's all my fault. He clenched his fingers and the veins on the back of his hand stood out. Tao Yuan didn't know how to comfort him. At this point, no amount of comfort would be enough. Would you like something to drink? I'm very worried about you. No need. I don't want to see anyone now. Please go out. Don't be like this. Tao Yuan hugged him. If you feel bad, just cry it out. Don't keep it in your heart, okay? Cry it out. You'll feel much better. I killed her. I killed my sister with my own hands. Lu Li collapsed on her knees. The man who had always been strong finally shed tears. He cried on her lap like a helpless child and confessed over and over again. Tao Yuan stroked his back. She knew that he was suffering. She couldn't do anything but accompany him silently. His tears wetted her hand. Endless tears streamed down her cheeks. The new year arrived in the shadow of death. The entire Lu family was lifeless. Lu Yanting also aged a lot during this time. Su Baihe cried every day and night until her hair turned white. 1 month later, the cemetery was dead silent. Crows circled in the sky. The weather was gloomy. Lu Li placed a bouquet of flowers in front of Lu Qingwan's tombstone. She was smiling brightly in the photo. Unfortunately, she was already. He looked at her tombstone for a long time. A whole 2 hours. The sky was completely dark. Tao Yuan patted his back. It's time to go. In the car, Lu Li looked out of the window. After a long time, he turned his head and smiled at her. This was the first smile he had seen in the past month. Ali, Tao Yuan felt a lump in her throat and held his hand. I'm sorry for making you worry for so long. You must be very tired during this period. Tao Yuan shook her head. I'm not tired, but I'm very sad to see you so sad. I'm afraid that you'll continue to be like that. How could that be? No matter how sad he was, he had to get over it. This family still depends on me. If even I fall, what will happen to my parents? Yes, the dead are gone. I believe that even in heaven she wouldn't want to see you blaming yourself like this. Tao Yuan leaned on his shoulder. I'm afraid you'll overthink if we stay here. Let's leave this place temporarily, okay? Perhaps you will feel better if you go to Paris for some fresh air. Yes. He put an arm around her shoulder and kissed her hair. The graveyard receded behind him, connected to death and the shadow of this month. Although he still felt guilty, Lu Li knew that he had to pull himself together. For her, for the Lu family, and for himself. The night in Paris was brightly lit. The floor-to-ceiling windows of the deluxe suite faced the Eiffel Tower. There were 2 empty wine bottles on the table. Lu Li stood by the window and looked down at the city. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected his face. There was still a trace of sadness between his brows, but he was more determined than ever. Tao Yuan finished showering and came out in a bathrobe. She drank a lot with him, so she was a little dizzy and her face was as beautiful as a rose. It's your turn. He didn't hear what she said. She walked behind him. It's time to take a shower. Don't drink too much. She took his glass and put it on the coffee table. Lu Li turned to look at her without blinking or saying a word. Tao Yuan was a little embarrassed to be looked at by him. What's wrong? Is my face very red and ugly? No, I've been so sad that I neglected you. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking care of me. He held her face in his hands and said with heartache. You've lost a lot of weight. I haven't, but you look haggard. I was really afraid that you would take it too hard. Fortunately, you got over it. Tao Yuan gently stroked his face. I know that this has hurt you a lot, but let bygones be bygones, okay? I don't want to see you in so much pain. And I know. Her face was as tender and delicate as if she had applied rouge. Her lips were full and bright, and her skin was like an egg with its shell peeled. Her gentle eyes were filled with concern for him. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat and he lowered his head to kiss her. Tao Yuan instinctively avoided it, but he insisted on kissing her lips. They gently moved and then deepened the kiss. He couldn't help but hold her delicate body in his arms tightly. He longed to embed her into his body and fill the emptiness and coldness in his heart. Only she could give him warmth. If it wasn't for her, he really didn't know how he would get through this. Tao Yuan. Tao Yuan? He kissed her and murmured her name. The more he kissed, the more gentle he wanted to be, and the more gentle he wanted to be, the more he couldn't control his strength. He loved this woman more than ever before. He loved her so much that he couldn't breathe and he couldn't fight with her. The kiss deepened, lingering, passionate, and full of infatuation. He was about to break her. But Tao Yuan didn't want to avoid his kiss. She even indulged in it. Her heart ached for him. There was no empathy in this world, but when he was sad, she would also feel a heart-wrenching pain. Was it love? Maybe she loved him. No matter how much she denied or resisted, the feeling of her body couldn't lie. The pain and worry for him couldn't lie either. She wished that she could be his comfort, warm him, and soothe his pain. This kiss became more and more passionate, and it went deep into their bones. In the room, the atmosphere was hot. The two of them were like fish in the desert, desperately needing each other. As the kiss deepened, Lu Li gradually felt that he couldn't control himself. He lifted up her nightdress and his hand went in, caressing her back. His fingers were very cold and she couldn't help but tremble when he touched her burning skin. There was a voice in her ear that kept saying, "Stop, stop." This was a mistake and he couldn't continue. Lu Li released her lips with difficulty and pressed against the tip of her nose. He was panting but his eyes were still very hot. "I'm sorry, Tao Yuan didn't understand why he suddenly stopped and looked at him blankly. The alcohol went to her head, stimulating her body and making it even hotter. She didn't want him to let go of her at this time. "Why? I don't want you to just pity me. This isn't pity. Then you're drunk and you'll regret it." His throat was already very tight. It was harder than killing him to resist the urge to kiss her. "I might have drunk too much, but I won't regret it." His eyes were red and his fingers were trembling. "Have you thought it through?" Tao Yuan nodded. The next second, her body was lifted up by him and he gently placed her on the bed. He kissed her deeply. He had been longing for this for a long time. Lu Li was about to go crazy. He bent down and kissed her body with his lips. She couldn't tell if she wanted to accept or reject him. Her fingers clutched his arm nervously. Luli, I know what you want, baby, I know it all. Luli covered her lips again, moving and sucking. He couldn't get enough of her sweetness in his life. Their fingers clasped tightly. That night, the two of them intertwined countless times, until Tao Yuan fell asleep from exhaustion. Luli looked at her and caressed her face for the whole night. The early spring sun was so bright that it hurt Tao Yuan's eyelids. She subconsciously covered her eyes with her hands, turned over, and buried her head in the pillow. Good morning. Luli came in with a tray with sandwiches and freshly squeezed orange juice on it. Get up for breakfast. I don't want to. I'm so sleepy, I want to sleep. Tao Yuan turned over lazily. Close the curtains, it's so bright. It's already past 10 o'clock and you're still sleeping. His big hand fell gently on her body. Her touch was so good. Thinking of how she looked last night, he felt a sense of satisfaction. Last night until midnight, I'm so tired. She closed her eyes and complained sleepily. Are you complimenting me for being capable? Annoying. Feeling the gaze, Tao Yuan couldn't sleep and lifted one eyelid. Why do you keep looking at me? I can't sleep like this. I think you're beautiful, I want to look. No, I'm not wearing makeup now, I must look ugly. No, you're the most beautiful in my eyes. He lowered his head, his cool breath on her face, his lips kissing her cheek, exuding a faint scent of shaving water. Tao Yuan's heart warmed and she shyly shrank her neck. No, my face is so dirty. I didn't sleep last night. Why? Because I'm afraid that you'll wake up and tell me that you're regretting it because you drank too much. His eyes were still a little cautious. When did you become so emotional? You're the one who makes me feel insecure. I did drink, but I know what I'm doing. Can you rest assured? So, are you pitying me? No, she yawned lazily. I can't even feel sorry for myself. Then. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. Are you willing to give me a chance? Let's start over. Tao Yuan knew she should refuse, but after accompanying him for the past month, they were together every day and she understood him more and more. She felt that this man was not as cold-blooded and despicable as she had imagined, and his heart was also very soft. She should have said the words of refusal very firmly, but she seemed to be a little shaken. There were some things that were difficult even if she knew what to do. Her eyes flickered twice and she just said, "Don't force me, okay?" Luli couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes, but he still nodded. Okay, let's take it slow. Actually, I'm already very happy to be holding you and looking at you like this. I shouldn't ask for too much. Tao Yuan gently raised her hand and stroked his cheek. It was thinner than before, without any flesh at all. You've lost a lot of weight. Have I? Do you dislike me? She nodded. A little. Then you have to find a way to fatten me up. How do I fatten you up? Just like this? He snuggled into her arms and kept kissing her, hugging her and touching her. Tao Yuan was so itchy that she rolled around on the bed, and the two of them were playing together. Stop, annoying, it's so itchy. Chapter 602. Tao Yuan felt a strong need for him. She stroked his hair and murmured, "The past is in the past. Everything will be fine. I promise you. Don't leave me, please." Restlessly, he held her tighter. The two stayed in Paris for a week before returning home. Lu Yanting had temporarily recovered from the pain of losing his daughter, but his hair was much whiter. He did not go to the office and sat alone on the sofa in a daze. Tao Yuan didn't feel good when she saw this. "Dad, have a cup of ginseng tea." Lu Yanting nodded and sighed. "Thank you." In the past month, there were more wrinkles on his face and he looked listless. He brought the tea to his mouth but could not drink it, so he put it down. "Don't be too sad. You still have me." Lu Yanting forced a smile. A strong burning smell came from the kitchen, and the helper screamed. "Oh no, the kitchen is on fire." Fortunately, the fire was not big and the servants worked together to put it out. The tiles in the kitchen were blackened and the stove was burnt. Cough cough. What happened? Tao Yuan asked. Her face was scrunched up from the fumes. "The pot is dry and the fire is on fire." Cough cough cough. "Who's cooking?" "It's not me." "It's not me either. I'm not cooking." The servants shook their heads. "But I saw Madame go into the kitchen. She seemed to be cooking bird's nest. I said I wanted to help but she refused." An 18 or 19-year-old maid said in a trembling voice. Second Miss loves bird's nest. Did Su Baiha forget to turn off the stove? What happened? Su Baiha walked over. There's a fire. Who started the fire? It's you? She glared at Tao Yuan. It's not enough that you killed my daughter. Now you want to burn my entire family to death? You're such a vicious woman. I didn't start the fire. Don't try to defend yourself. You're a bitch with a poisonous heart. I'm going to kill you. Su Baiha pounced on her. The servants tried to stop her but she pushed them away. Get out of my way. I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me. Su Baiha grabbed Tao Yuan's hair and tried to slap her, but her wrist was caught in midair. Mom, stop. Luli stood in front of Tao Yuan. Don't stop me, let go. This woman wants to burn us to death. I have to kill her first, otherwise we will all die because of her. Su Baiha went crazy and her strength was terrifying. Luli couldn't control his strength and she was pushed to the ground. Mom? Luli hurried to help her up. Don't touch me. Su Baiha screamed. Half of her hair had turned white, and her disheveled appearance made her look like a lunatic. Her eyes were bloodshot and filled with hatred. Qingwan has already been killed by her. Are you still not awake? She's here for revenge. If you continue to protect her, she'll kill you sooner or later. Our whole family will die. She got up, pushed the servant aside and rushed upstairs. Are you okay? Luli asked. Tao Yuan shook her head. I'm fine. Hurry up and go see her. Okay. Tao Yuan returned to her room. Not long after, Luli also returned. How's your mom? She closed the door and didn't let me in. Luli was also helpless. Ever since Lu Qingwan passed away, Su Baiha had been locking herself at home. She often hid in Lu Qingwan's room and cried in the middle of the night. There were several times when the servants were almost scared out of their wits. There's something that I didn't know how to tell you before. Tao Yuan pursed her lips. Your mom's mental state is very abnormal now. Just now, she forgot to turn off the fire when she was cooking the bird's nest and caused the fire. I heard from the servants that she often suddenly forgot what she was doing recently, as if she had lost her memory. There was once when I thought that Qingwan didn't die and that she might have become mentally ill. It's best to take her for a checkup to prevent more problems. One blow after another came, mainly related to his family. Even a strong and mature man like Luli couldn't bear the blow and sat on the sofa in silence. Of course, this is just my guess. Don't worry too much. Even if there's a problem, you can receive treatment and it will get better. She put her hand on his shoulder. I'll always be with you. Luli covered the back of her hand. Thank you. Too many disasters had happened in the past month or so. If it was a problem at work, he could solve it, but now that his family was in trouble, even he was helpless. However, he knew that as the pillar of the family, he had to take responsibility for everything. Fortunately, she was by his side. In the middle of the night, there was a sudden rainstorm. The wind was strong, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. The trees were blown askew and reflected in the window like a demon with bared fangs and brandished claws. Tao Yuan was awakened by the thunder. She suddenly saw a figure standing motionless in front of the bed. She screamed in fear. There was a figure beside the bed with disheveled hair. Tao Yuan was so scared that she screamed. A flash of lightning tore through the night sky and lit up the whole room. Su Baiha's face was as pale as a ghost. Tao Yuan was really scared out of her wits. Before she could ask what she wanted to do, Su Baiha suddenly raised a sharp knife and stabbed at her. Tao Yuan hurriedly dodged and the knife stabbed into the mattress. She couldn't imagine that if the knife stabbed into her body, she would definitely die. Seeing that she didn't stab her, Su Baiha took out the knife and chased after her. Tao Yuan couldn't dodge in time and her arm was cut by the knife. You're crazy. Put the knife down. Help. Help. In the dark, Tao Yuan couldn't find anything to block. She grabbed a vase and threw it. Clank. I'm going to kill you, Su Baiha pounced over. Tao Yuan grabbed her wrist. She was very strong and the knife stabbed straight at her face. Tao Yuan gritted her teeth and tried to resist. Finally, she snatched the knife and threw it away. At the same time, she pushed Su Baiha away. The back of her head hit the wall and she fainted. The next day, Su Baiha woke up. She couldn't remember what happened last night. Her family didn't dare to tell her. The doctor called the three of them to the study and said with a heavy expression, Madame Lu should be suffering from a mental disorder caused by a huge mental trauma. It could be intermittent or it could be a long-term one. She's in danger now. I suggest you send her to the hospital for treatment. The hospital meant a mental hospital. Lu Yanting was silent. After a long time, Luli spoke. My mom wouldn't want to stay in that kind of place. I'm afraid it would only worsen her condition. But she's in danger now. What happened last night might happen again. But I really don't want to treat her like a mental patient. Tao Yuan didn't want to put Lu Li in a difficult position and suggested. She just wants to deal with me. The others should be safe. Why don't I move out temporarily and ask the doctors and nurses to take care of her? Lu Li's heart ached. But I don't want you to feel wronged. I'm used to living outside. I don't feel wronged at all. Now that her condition is so serious, she's in charge. Don't hesitate anymore. The most important thing now is to treat her quickly. Otherwise it will only worsen. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Li could only nod. Does the injury on your arm still hurt? He regretted staying in the company to work overtime last night. Otherwise she wouldn't have been injured. But he really didn't expect his mom to do something so extreme. It's just a minor injury. It's not a big deal. Tao Yuan shook her head. Since she doesn't know her condition now, don't tell her. Just ask the doctors and nurses to take care of her body. Okay. Tao Yuan was only going back to the Lu family to stay for a while. She didn't have much luggage and it was packed in 10 minutes. Lu Li sat on the sofa and smoked silently. His brows had never relaxed since the beginning. Why do you keep frowning like an old man? Frowning makes you grow old quickly, do you know? Tao Yuan joked and cupped his face. Smile? But how could Lu Li smile? His heart was so stifled now that it was throbbing. I'm sorry. His low voice was full of guilt. I didn't do anything. What's there to be sorry about? I understand your difficulties better than anyone else. Moving away is the best choice. I've always been so self-righteous and thought that I was omnipotent. But in the end, I can't even protect my beloved wife. I'm so useless. He wanted to slap himself. He had never tasted such grievance in his life. No one could have expected this to happen. I can understand you. Thank you. He pulled her into his arms, tightened his arms, held the back of her head, and melted into his body. I'll make it up to you twice as much in the future. I swear. Tao Yuan moved back to her previous apartment. Pan Chi came to accompany her. At night, the two of them sat on the sofa with chips and juice and chatted. I haven't seen you for more than a month. It must have been hard. It's okay. Is the Lu family still in a bad situation? Yes. She's a good person, but she's gone just like that. Of course, it will bring a lot of trauma to the whole family. Pan Chi didn't care. If you ask me, Lu Qingwan was a scourge when she was alive. Her death is a good thing to get rid of a scourge for society. The dead are dead. Don't say such things. Pan Chi shrugged. Okay, then I won't say it anymore. But does this prove the saying karma? The Lu family treated you so badly and now they're in this state. So, people still can't do bad things. It's not that the time hasn't come yet. Tao Yuan didn't know what to say. When she hated the mother and daughter of the Lu family to the bone, she cursed them fiercely, wishing that they would be killed by a car when they went out. But when the tragedy really happened, she didn't feel good. After all, the human heart was made of flesh. No matter what, she had to consider Lu Li's feelings. What are you thinking about? Pan Chi reached out and waved her hand in front of her. The mother and daughter are so bad. Don't tell me you still sympathize with them? Also, when are you going to divorce? Their family is already like this. How can I ask for it? You didn't see how my father-in-law looks now. His hair is a lot whiter. If I mention the divorce again, he won't be able to take the blow. That's why I say, why didn't you get a divorce earlier? Why did you have to drag it out? Now that it's so troublesome, it's even harder to get a divorce even if you want to. The Lu family is like a quagmire. Once you step in, you'll only sink deeper and deeper. If you were more selfish back then and didn't worry about this and that, you would have long. Let's not talk about this. I don't like to hear it. What do you mean? Don't tell me you want to get back together with Lu Li? No. Chapter 603. Tao Yuan did not answer. She drank a mouthful of orange juice and her stomach turned sour. She almost vomited. She quickly covered her mouth and rushed into the bathroom. She leaned over the toilet but she could not vomit. She only vomited out some acid. She did not know what was wrong with her these days, but she always felt like vomiting. Are you okay? She shook her head, flushed the toilet, stood up and wiped her mouth. Wait, you are not pregnant, are you? Pan Chi cried in surprise. Tao Yuan turned pale and then shook her head. Impossible. They had only done it once that night in Paris, and she had taken contraceptive pills afterwards. Anything is possible now. Do you want to buy a pregnancy test? I may have caught a cold these days, not pregnant. You are too sensitive. Tao Yuan did not know whether she was trying to convince her or herself. Anyway, it would be terrible if she was pregnant. She did not even dare to think about it and wanted to avoid it subconsciously. It is better to be safe than sorry. Buy a pregnancy test and feel at ease. I know my own affairs. If I say I am not pregnant, then I am not pregnant. Hearing that she was a little annoyed, Pan Chi did not want to persuade her anymore, so she shrugged. Then be careful. If you are really pregnant, you will never be able to get rid of the Lu family. That night, she was still a little nervous, but Tao Yuan comforted herself that she would be fine after taking the contraceptive pills. Besides, she had caught a cold, so nausea was normal. She still did not feel well for the next 2 days. She would feel dizzy and nauseous from time to time, but Tao Yuan did not dare to check. Until one morning, halfway through the meeting, she suddenly felt dizzy and could not recover for a long time. The more she thought about it, the more worried she became. She asked for leave to go home, bought a pregnancy test and waited anxiously for the result. 10 minutes later, she stared at the 2 lines on the pregnancy test. Tao Yuan still could not believe the result. After all, she had taken contraceptive pills, and the chance of pregnancy was very small. She went to the hospital in a hurry, but the result was the same. She was pregnant. She sat in the corridor and could not calm down for a long time, with all kinds of complicated feelings. Her feelings for Lu Li had changed and the idea of divorce had wavered. But she asked herself, could she forget everything in the past and start again? After pondering for a long time, he still couldn't come up with a solution. Especially now, Su Baihe hated her to the core, and Lu Qingwan's death was indirectly caused by her. She had an irreconcilable conflict with that family, which already made their relationship very troublesome, and having another child would make things even more complicated. But perhaps this child would bring a glimmer of hope? She did not know. In short, she was very conflicted. This child came at a bad time. Tao Yuan couldn't bear to abort him. After all, he was her own flesh and blood. But she couldn't keep him either. After thinking about it, the best solution was to get a divorce as soon as possible and cut ties with the Lu family. Then she would leave this place and raise the child on her own. But could he escape for the rest of his life? Would Lu Li agree to the divorce? With the Lu family in such a miserable situation, how could she bring up the topic of divorce again? Tao Yuan was about to go crazy. She walked aimlessly on the road for a long time until her legs gave out and she could no longer walk. He returned home with a heavy heart. When he opened the door, the room was filled with warmth. The air was filled with the aroma of food. It felt like home. She watched blankly as Lu Li came out of the kitchen with the dishes he had just cooked. He was wearing her teddy bear scarf. His eyes were gentle and he looked very warm. Tao Yuan couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat. She suddenly wanted to throw herself into his arms and cry. Why are you still standing there? It's time to eat. Lu Li untied his scarf and walked over, kissing her on the head. Did you come back at the right time? I just finished cooking. Why did you suddenly? I haven't seen you for 2 days. Of course I miss you. I don't know what I can do to make you happy. Maybe cooking is a good choice. Tao Yuan smiled bitterly. You don't have to do this. The better he treated her, the harder it was to bring up the divorce. Maybe it would be better if he was as bad as before. At least he could break it off cleanly. Now that he was dragging things out, she felt very uncomfortable. How could she bring herself to bring up the matter of divorce? You're touched to this extent by a meal? You've done so many things for me, so I have to repay you with my body? Of course, my body belongs to you anyway. You can enjoy it whenever you want. Lu Li joked. Seeing that Tao Yuan was still standing there, he pushed her to the dining table. Steamed turbot, braised pork ribs, shredded sweet potatoes and kelp soup. These are all your favorites. How is it? It looks good, right? Well, I thought you've never been in the kitchen. I didn't expect you to be so good at cooking. Your man can go out in the living room and into the kitchen. Lu Li lowered his head and kissed her on the neck. Sit down. I'll get the bowls and chopsticks. Come eat a piece of fish. Pork ribs. And some soup. He kept putting food into her bowl until it was almost full. How does it taste? Even a confident man needed her approval. Tao Yuan nodded. It's comparable to a 5-star chef. It was a pity that although the taste was good, her throat was sore as if she was chewing wax. Her heart was also sour. It was not a good feeling. Eat more if you like it. You've lost a lot of weight recently. By the way, how's your mother? The doctor gave her medicine and the nurse is with her 24 hours a day. Although she still gets sick sometimes, her condition is much better than before. Well, that's good. The knot in her heart is actually me. She'll be fine after I leave. Luli smiled bitterly. It's been hard on you. How can it be? It's easier to live alone in an apartment. It's just that I can't take care of Dad. Thank you. I know. Pregnancy was supposed to be the happiest thing. The first thing she should do was to share the good news with her husband. However, her situation was the opposite. It was stuck in her throat and she couldn't say it. She was even afraid that he would find out. The feeling of nausea came up again. Tao Yuan quickly put down the bowl and chopsticks. I'm going to the bathroom. She hid in the bathroom and looked at her pale face in the mirror. She squeezed out a bitter smile. Why was her life so difficult? After dinner, Luli cleared the dishes and the two of them curled up on the sofa to watch TV. Covered with the same blanket, he held her in his embrace with one arm. She rested her head on his chest and listened to his steady and powerful heartbeat. She greedily enjoyed the warmth of this moment. Perhaps she would never experience it again. Are you sleepy? He kissed her forehead and said gently. No. You weren't at the hotel in the afternoon. Where did you go? She shivered. I accompanied Pan Chi to do something. Her tone was very evasive. He should be able to tell that she was lying, right? What if he continued to ask? But Luli didn't ask further. He just said, Oh. Why are you always so absent-minded today? I feel that you have something to say to me. No? No. Maybe I've been too busy these 2 days. I'm too tired. Then let's go to Paris again. I want to, but your mother is in such a situation now. How can you leave her alone? Tao Yuan shrank into his arms. His chest was so warm. She didn't know when she started to be so greedy for his embrace. Sometimes she really wanted to never leave. He sighed and toyed with her fingers. Now that I think about it, you've been a disaster since we met. I treated you badly in the past and then we separated for 3 years. You also suffered a lot. Now that we've finally reconciled, I wanted to treat you well, but this happened. Do you regret knowing me? Tao Yuan also asked this question, but she wasn't sure herself. Meeting him was indeed a disaster. She had suffered a lot in the past 14 years. However, if she hadn't met him, she might never know what love was. Her life would have passed so peacefully. At the moment of her death, would she regret that she didn't have a passionate love in this life? So, she was also very conflicted. There are no ifs in this world. Everyone you meet is arranged by God, and it is very likely that they will change the trajectory of your life. You will never know what your life would have been like if you hadn't chosen this path. So, I don't want to think about this problem. Since I met them, I met them. Whether I regret it or not, this is my life. Yes. But I'm very glad to meet you. Tao Yuan, thank you for appearing in my life. At this moment, Luli also felt that it was magical. Was love and hate really just a thin line? She was the person he hated the most in this world, but now she had become his favorite. Life was so wonderful. Ups and downs, hate and love, he had to experience them all at least once to not live in vain. But after experiencing so many things, he knew how to cherish her. He had never felt so strongly about someone before. In this life he had to have her. Tao Yuan, I love you. I really, really love you. I can't imagine what it will be like without you in my life. It must be very painful. The more he said like this, the more sad Tao Yuan felt. Why did he have to fall in love with her when she had to leave him? This was cruel to him, and it was also not easy for her. The most frightening thing in life was not suffering but being in a dilemma. Now she was standing at a fork in her life, and it seemed that any path she chose would be wrong. Don't say any more, please? He gently pinched her chin. Her teary eyes made his heart ache. He couldn't help but want to kiss her frowning brows and kiss her sadness. Kisses fell on her forehead, cheeks, and the corner of her mouth. Finally, he covered her lips. Gently, over and over again, he didn't know fatigue. She tasted so sweet that he couldn't help but take a deep breath. The kiss became deeper and deeper, entangling her to dance with him. As the kiss deepened, Luli turned around and pressed her under his body. He propped himself up with his long arms, not hurting her at all. As he kissed her, his hands slowly slid up her long legs and into her nightgown, caressing her smooth back. Tao Yuan couldn't help curling up like a shrimp, panting. The atmosphere was burning and the warm kiss gradually became lingering. Luli pulled up her nightdress and buried his head in her chest. The cool feeling and the man's hot breath lingered around her heart. The two different feelings made Tao Yuan wake up. No, she was pregnant. She couldn't hurt the child. Thinking of this, she hugged his head and pushed him away with difficulty. Luli, don't. Luli panted and looked at her in confusion, but his hands didn't stop moving. I don't want. I want you to go crazy. He bit her finger. Chapter 604. I know your body. You want it very much. Don't refuse me, baby. Every time he said baby, it was incomparably gentle, melting Tao Yuan's heart. She almost couldn't help but lay down her arms and surrender. But she couldn't. Every time he did that kind of thing, he was very wild and would definitely hurt the baby. The situation was already complicated enough. She didn't want to make it more troublesome. I really don't want it. Don't force me, please. Tears overflowed from the corners of her eyes and her voice was a little choked. Luli was so tense that he was about to explode. He didn't understand. Hadn't she already accepted him before? Why did she still refuse him? Did he do something wrong again? But even at this moment he still couldn't bear to force her. He could only endure the torture himself. Okay, I won't force you. He turned to the side and panted heavily, trying to force the heat away. Tao Yuan put on her nightgown and curled up into a ball with her arms around her legs. She felt wronged like a child. Luli touched her head. I'm sorry, but I won't force you. You know, even though I want you so much. Okay, don't cry. Don't cry. He held her face and slowly kissed away her tears. As long as you are by my side, that's enough. I don't want anything else. That night, the two of them slept in separate rooms. Tao Yuan couldn't sleep all night. At dawn, she finally made the most unbearable decision, to give up the child. Even if they divorced and she ran abroad alone, Luli would definitely chase after her when he found out. It would be useless even if she ran to the ends of the earth. Even if he didn't come to her, she would raise the child alone. A child without a father's love was also incomplete. She couldn't selfishly bring him into the world without being responsible for him. Children who grew up in incomplete families often had psychological shadows. Ouyang Shua was the best proof. She didn't want her future child to become another Ouyang Shua. She felt very sad when she thought that the child would ask who his father was when he grew up a little bit. Since it was a dead end no matter what, she would rather choose to end it from the beginning. The next day she went to the hospital. The dark corridor was filled with the smell of blood and medicine. Some young girls were accompanied by their boyfriends. Some were crying and some looked sad. The nurse called their names numbly. The women who walked out were all pale, clutching their abdomens and crying in pain. A few of them had already fainted. Tao Yuan walked alone in the corridor, her heart dead. A little girl walked in front of her and asked her with a pair of big black eyes. Auntie, have you seen my mommy? You lost your way? The little girl nodded. What does your mother look like? My mommy looks like you. She has long hair and a gentle smile. Tao Yuan got up and was about to take her to the hospital's security. Chanshan, where did you go? I've been looking for you for a long time. You almost scared me to death. The young mother hugged her daughter tightly. Promise mommy that you won't run around anymore, okay? Well, Chanshan is good. Chanshan will never leave mommy. The mother left with her daughter. She hugged her neck and waved at Tao Yuan. Goodbye, auntie. Goodbye. Number 22 Tao Yuan. Tao Yuan. The nurse shouted impatiently at the top of her voice. Tao Yuan walked to the door and looked at the little girl. She was still making faces at her. She suddenly felt that she had made a stupid decision. The child was innocent. She couldn't decide her life and death. She couldn't bear to do it. No matter what would happen in the future, she might regret it, but she couldn't give up this love. She quickly ran away from this terrible place. Since she couldn't bear to abort the child, then divorce was the only choice for Tao Yuan. She made up her mind that no matter how difficult it was, she would brace herself to do it. The next morning, during work time, she took the time to find Luli. The secretary rarely saw her. He was a little surprised and received her respectfully. The president is in a meeting. Please wait a moment. How long will the meeting be? I don't know. It depends. Well, then I'll wait here. The meeting lasted for more than 3 hours. As soon as it was over, Luli heard the news and immediately walked out of the meeting room. Seeing Tao Yuan sitting there waiting for him, his face lit up and he wanted to kiss her immediately. However, it was not good to be so intimate in front of so many people. He could only barely maintain the cold demeanor of a big president. When he returned to the office, he hugged her from behind and kissed her fragrant neck. Did the sun rise from the west today? You actually took the initiative to find me. His eyebrows sparkled with joy. He was as happy as a child. The more he was like this, the more uncomfortable Tao Yuan felt, but she didn't allow herself to be soft-hearted. Since she had decided to divorce, she had to say it no matter how difficult it was. Let me go first. I just like to hug you. Luli couldn't help hugging her tighter and stuck to her back like an octopus. Your perfume smells so good. I like everything about you. Baby, the raindrop-like kisses fell on Tao Yuan's neck, but it was like a dagger stabbing into her heart. Her heart hurt. She was about to suffocate. You, let go of me first. She tried to pry open his fingers. I'm about to be suffocated by you. Only then did Luli let go of her, but he turned her body around and wrapped his arms around her waist, intimately kissing her again. Are you a witch? What kind of magic did you cast on me? I'm addicted to you. Why don't you look happy? Did you wait for a long time? 2 hours. No wonder. I thought it was because you weren't satisfied last night. If it is, I'll make it up to you tonight. Don't be like this. I have something to say to you. She broke away from his arms and calmed herself down. Are you tired from the meeting today? Isn't it the same as usual? I've made plans for this year. Well, it seems that you're in good working condition. It's all because you're by my side. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to pull myself together so quickly. You're my backbone. Luli held her hand and kissed it. Tao Yuan's throat was sore. Her heart was already heavy enough. She begged him to stop saying such things, otherwise she would collapse. She closed her eyes and suppressed the sourness in her heart. She looked at him calmly. I'm relieved to see you pull yourself together. I can also retire successfully. Retire successfully? What do you mean? Resign and become a full-time wife? That's a good suggestion. Luli, she took a deep breath and tried to suppress her emotions. Then she gathered her courage and said, let's get a divorce. Hearing that, he was stunned for a moment. Divorce? I almost forgot. Today is April Fool's Day. You actually lied to me about this. I was almost scared by you. I didn't scare you. I don't believe a word you said on April Fool's Day. He was smiling, but his fingers were already trembling. He avoided her gaze. Then let's talk tomorrow? Luli frowned and looked at her in confusion. Do you know what you're saying? I'm very clear. I want a divorce. But haven't we been fine all this time? When I said to get back together, you said you would consider it. Yes, this is the result of my consideration. Luli did not believe a word she said. Their relationship had clearly eased. He thought that it was only a matter of time before they got back together. He never thought that she would suddenly throw such a heavy bomb. Boom! His world was about to collapse. I don't understand. Do you remember that night in Paris? I asked you if you sympathized with me. You said no, you did it willingly. Have you forgotten? You didn't regret it afterward. I didn't forget. It's not that I sympathized with you. But everyone has a vulnerable moment. When I saw you in so much pain, I really couldn't bear it. I just wanted to make you feel better. So you're just using your body to comfort me? Luli felt that it was ridiculous and sneered. Do you think I will believe what you said? When we were intertwined that night, the way you looked at me, your body had a reaction and a feeling. I'm human. Of course, I have feelings and emotions. It's easy for people to make mistakes when they are vulnerable. I admit that I was moved by you at that time, but after thinking about it clearly, I can't do it. He was going crazy. What? Aren't we doing well now? The happiness when we're together is real. I can feel it. Those can't lie. I know that I've made you suffer for the past 10 years, but everything is different now. Why do you have to divorce me when I want to cherish you? The idea of divorce is not new. I've mentioned it to you a long time ago. I've never said that I want to get back together with you. Tao Yuan clenched her fists tightly and tried to force out the courage from her body. Her body was already trembling and she could run away at any time. Yes, you've changed now, but this is only temporary. In the end, I have no confidence in you. Why don't you give me time to prove it? It's been 14 years. I've spent all my youth on you. I'm very tired and I can't afford to gamble anymore. Just think of it as me being timid and weak. I don't believe you at all. When I'm with you, I don't feel safe at all. I don't want to guess every day how long you'll be good to me, whether you'll abandon me once you get me, and whether I'll become the second Tao Yenran. Also, the injury in the past has left a huge shadow on me. I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. It will always exist between us and I can't start over. I'm responsible for Lu Qingwan's death, and your mother will never forgive me. You don't care about these problems now, but as time goes on, you'll definitely mind. I don't want to wait until that moment to fall out with you. Enough. Don't say any more. Lu Li slammed his fist on the desk, and the veins on his forehead bulged like an angry lion. I said that I love you. Why won't you believe me? Do you want to be trapped in the shadow of the past for the rest of your life? Because I don't want to, I have to leave you and find someone to start over. Start over, ha? Who do you want to find? Fang Yicheng or another man? Why do you think they're more reliable than me? If you can give them a chance, why can't I? Chapter 605. For so long he thought that they were going through thick and thin together. He always thought that if a woman was willing to accompany him in his most difficult time, it meant that she loved him. But it turned out that it had always been his wishful thinking. She only sympathized with him, and the idea of divorce had never been shaken. Lu Li didn't want to believe any of this. I don't make you confident because you never let your guard down. Trust me even once. I don't want much, just a chance. Is it so difficult? What do we have been through these days mean to you? Is it meaningless? She avoided his questioning eyes. It was too painful for her. Why don't you dare to look at me? Because you don't mean what you say, right? Lu Li wrapped his arms around her shoulders. Look at me, Tao Yuan. I don't believe that you really want to divorce me. Is there any difficulty? She took a deep breath. For the sake of the child, she had to be cruel to him. There is no difficulty. I just want a divorce. I just can't trust you. I'm very tired. Don't drag it on anymore, okay? Just take it that I'm begging you, let me go. She actually said that she was begging him. Did she hate him that much? Lu Li let go of her and turned his back to her. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Go. Is there any point in dragging it on like this? Go. Don't be like this, okay? Just take it as giving each other a release. I said I don't want to talk about it. Even if you don't talk about it now, we still have to talk about it tomorrow. You can't avoid it. I don't want to hear your voice again. Please leave. Tao Yuan felt like a knife was twisting in her heart. She thought that they would be as free and easy as before. But in the past few months, their relationship had changed. It was bigger than she had thought. She couldn't even open her mouth. The air was filled with sadness. The man's eyes were red and his fists were trembling. He heard the sound of the door closing and his heart ached. For the next 2 days, Lu Li didn't return to the apartment. Tao Yuan didn't look for him either. She wanted to give him some time to think. Judging from his reaction that day, divorce was more difficult than she had imagined. How long would it take? In a few months, her belly would get bigger and she wouldn't be able to hide it anymore. Moreover, she was afraid that the longer it took, the more unwilling she would be. Therefore, it was best to cut the Gordian knot and end everything quickly. She would leave this city. Knock knock. He pinched his eyebrows and said tiredly, "Come in." A large bouquet of blue demonesses walked in. "Honey, happy 14th anniversary." Tao Yuan stands up in surprise. Lu Li, who is holding a large bouquet of blue flowers, makes her surprised. She hurriedly closes the door. "Why are you here?" "It's a surprise for you, don't you like it? The colleagues outside all saw you?" "Yes." "What's there to be afraid of?" "It's only right and proper to send flowers to your wife." However, they were all so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Lu Li felt that he was really not a good husband. "Today is our 14th anniversary." "How did you know?" "Have you forgotten? When you confessed to me, you showed me your diary. It was April 5th, the first day of your first year. You met me for the first time." If he didn't mention it, she would have forgotten. Tao Yuan thought of herself when she was 11 years old. She had just entered the first year of her first year and didn't know what love was. However, her eyes fell deeply into the clear eyes of the big boy, and from then on, her dreams were filled with him. The secret love in her youth was sour and sweet. Now that she thought about it, it was still very beautiful. She really liked the pure and beautiful self who worked hard for love without caring about anything. She always felt that meeting him was a disaster, but at least in middle school and high school, he was all the motivation for her transformation. Without him, there would be no Tao Yuan today. It was a pity that 14 years of deep love and 4 years of marriage would end in divorce. Thinking of that young and sweet secret love, Tao Yuan couldn't help but smile. However, the reality was that they were about to divorce, and the smile became bitter. "Why are you still bringing up things that happened so many years ago? If not for that look, you wouldn't be my wife now. If only I had fallen in love with you earlier." "There aren't so many ifs. I was so ordinary at that time, and there were so many beautiful girls around you. How could you have noticed me? But now you are my wife. You are the only person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Lu Li looked at her affectionately and wanted to hold her hand, but Tao Yuan avoided him and ran away. Don't be like this, okay? You will only make the situation more troublesome. Let's not talk about this. How do you want to spend Memorial Day? Fly to Japan now. Paris? Where do you want to go? We haven't had our honeymoon yet. Can we make up for it now? Don't talk about this anymore. Tao Yuan interrupted him painfully. We are going to divorce. Don't you think that what you are doing will only make things more difficult? Lu Li's heart suffered another heavy blow, but he pretended not to care. If you don't like Paris, then we can go further. Iceland? Australia? Or you want to go skiing? Stop lying to yourself. No matter what you say, you can't change the situation. I want to divorce you. Do you hear me clearly? Tao Yuan used the loudest voice she could muster to emphasize her point. Divorce? Don't say these two words again. Tao Yuan took out a divorce agreement from the drawer and said in the coldest voice. I have already signed it. You should also sign it. Lu Li picked up the agreement and tore it into pieces. It's useless even if you tear it up. I still have a lot of copies here. I can't divorce. His eyes darkened and became gloomy. I will never let go of you in this life. Just give up. Then what do you want? Imprison me like before? Torture me? Or will you escape to another country? Do you think that's interesting? You know what I can't stand the most is your possessiveness. Because of those, I have been bruised all over. Do you want to continue to hurt me? I only want to love you. I only want to be good to you. But I don't need it. If you want to be good to me, then let go, okay? Let me be free. That's what I want most. Impossible. I said you are mine. I will not give you to another man even if I die. I can't live without you now. Tao Yuan laughed sarcastically. You keep saying that you love me, but in the end you only think about your own feelings. Without me you will be very miserable. But have you ever thought that I will be very miserable with you pestering me like this? Haven't we had happy times before? Yes, but compared to living in fear all the time, I would rather not have those short periods of happiness. She was so heartless that Lu Li almost couldn't recognize her. A few days ago she was still snuggling in his arms, acting coquettishly to him, laughing and joking with him. But after only 2 days, she suddenly seemed to have changed into a different person and was clamoring for a divorce. Were all women so fickle? I will give you love. I will make you the happiest woman in the world. I don't want it. I will never be happy with you. She made sure that every word she said was cruel and left no room for negotiation. We'd better settle this peacefully. Otherwise, even if it goes to court, I will definitely divorce you. At that time, it will only embarrass the Lu family. Do you think I will be afraid of that? Lu Li snorted, suppressing the anger on his face. His temples were throbbing. I don't want to force you like before, but if you insist on forcing me, then I can only say, don't even think about divorce. Whether you go to court or find someone else to help, the result will be the same. As long as I am not willing to sign, you can never get rid of me in this life. You said you have changed, but what about now? Deep down you are still bossy. How can I believe you? How can I be at ease to give myself to you? Do you know that you are really scary? Love is not like this. This can only be called possessiveness. You are the one who forced me first. Lu Li's eyes narrowed dangerously. He grabbed the back of her neck and pulled her over. Tao Yuan screamed. What are you doing? Let go. Are you trying to force me again? His face suddenly pressed down. He was very close to her and his hot breath sprayed on her face. She was so nervous that she held her breath. In his pitch-black eyes she could clearly see her helpless self. She was shivering. If he wanted to use force to threaten her, she would protect the child even if she had to risk her life. This is the office. Don't act recklessly. What do you think I will do to you? You still don't trust me? Lu Li smiled in disappointment. I really thought that we were no longer the same. Since you always wanted to divorce me, you shouldn't have stayed with me and given me hope when I was at the bottom of my life. You felt a sense of accomplishment when you gave me sympathy. You felt that you were especially kind, didn't you? Do you know? If you wanted to leave me at that time, maybe I would have signed because I did not want to implicate you. But now that you have provoked me, don't think about kicking me away after giving sympathy. Do you understand? Tao Yuan was angry and gritted her teeth. People like you are not worthy of sympathy at all. I really regret pitying you. Even if I give my sympathy to a dog, it's still better than giving it to you. At least it won't bite me in the back. Scold me if you hate me. Go ahead and scold me louder. Because no matter how much you hate me, I will never let you go. Just give up. He shook her off and strode away. The staff in the big office were frightened by his gloomy face. Didn't he look very happy when he entered? Why did his face suddenly change? So scary. Midnight. Tao Yuan finally fell asleep, but she was suddenly woken up by the sound of the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. She opened the door. There was no one. She looked down and found Luli sitting on the floor. His face was red and he was drunk. His body exuded a strong pungent smell of alcohol. She quickly squatted down to help him. Hey, stand still. You're so heavy. Be careful, don't walk around. Luli was already drunk and all his weight was on her. Tao Yuan struggled to take every step. She staggered and swayed. Yet he pushed her away and acted like a drunkard. Don't touch me. I will continue to drink. Come drink with me. Cheers. Tao Yuan was pushed by him and almost fell. Before she could stand still, she anxiously went to help him. You are so drunk and you are still drinking. Chapter 606. Who said I'm drunk? I'm not drunk. Luli tore open his collar and shouted in a hoarse voice. I'm not drunk. I can still drink. Honey, he laughed foolishly and pulled her into his arms. Honey, you're so beautiful. Come, let me kiss you. It's the middle of the night. Don't be crazy, okay? I'm not crazy. I'm sober. You're my wife. You'll be my wife for the rest of my life. Can you sit down first? I won't sit down. Luli straightened up. Why do you have to fight with me? You don't love me anymore, do you? Women change their faces faster than flipping a book. How cruel. Since you don't want me anymore, why do you care about me? Do you think I want to care? This is my home. Your home? Well, fine. If you don't want to care, I'll leave. He staggered out of the room, but Tao Yuan pulled him back. Ancestor, I'm begging you to stop messing around. Oh, I know you can't bear to drive me away. You lied to me about the divorce, right? Luli hugged her as if she was the most precious treasure. Honey, don't leave me, okay? Let's make up. Honey. Tao Yuan helped him sit on the sofa. Don't move. I'll be right back. Just as she was about to leave, he grabbed her hand. Don't leave me, I'll be right back. Be good. Really? You won't leave me? Yes. Tao Yuan pushed his hand away and ran to the kitchen to make some hangover tea. Luli kept shouting her name. Honey, I miss you. Honey. Come back. Lower your voice. You're going to wake up the whole building. Tao Yuan covered his mouth. He grabbed her hand and kissed it. He smiled contentedly. That smile made Tao Yuan's heart ache. Come on, drink the hangover tea. Oh, stinks. I don't want it. He averted his face. Don't throw a tantrum. Drink it. I want you to feed me mouth to mouth. Luli, Tao Yuan frowned. If you do this again, I'll ignore you. She pretended to leave and her threat worked. Luli hurriedly pulled her back. Okay, don't go. I'll drink it, okay? He closed his eyes and drank it in one gulp. So bitter, so disgusting. You knew it tasted bad, yet you still drank so much. Serves you right. You think I want to drink it? Isn't it because my heart is too uncomfortable? Luli's voice was hoarse as he pointed at his heart. It hurts here, it feels like it's going to split open. Tell me, how can I stop it from hurting? Do I have to dig it out? Aren't we doing fine? How can you divorce me just like that? Do you really not want me anymore? Honey, I really, really love you. I was wrong in the past. Give me another chance. Don't divorce me, okay? He curled up in her arms and begged in a low voice. Honey, don't leave me. I really can't live without you. Honey, the man kept murmuring and fell asleep, but he still held her hand tightly. He was afraid of losing her. Between the child and you, I can only choose him. I'm sorry for hurting you. The next day, Luli woke up in pain and found himself lying on the sofa in the apartment. The living room was empty. She had left. He smiled bitterly. She was really heartless. Tao Yuan had really exhausted all her tricks for the divorce. She had no other way. After thinking about it, she could only ask Ouyang Shua for help. This was the last resort. She called his office several times throughout the day, but the secretary said that he did not come to work. When she returned home at night, she continued to call his cell phone. Finally, someone picked up after 10 o'clock. Hello. The man's voice on the other end was lazy and somewhat annoying. Tao Yuan took a deep breath. It's me. Who? Tao Yuan. The music on the other end was very noisy, and from time to time, there was a woman's coquettish laughter. Come on, continue to drink. You're so annoying, don't you like it, little vixen? There were two women's voices. She could imagine the scene of him hugging two women in a luxurious environment. Tao Yuan felt nauseous. Are you still listening? Well, it's so rare that you would call me, he chatted with her while flirting with women. His words of love were all heard by Tao Yuan. I need your help. Can I call you tomorrow during work hours? Why wait until work hours? I'm free now. I'm at Dihao nightclub. Come over. After saying that, he hung up the phone coolly. Tao Yuan was very reluctant to go, but the divorce was imminent. She had no choice but to go to Dihao nightclub. When she arrived, she told the head waiter. The head waiter led her to the VIP room with familiarity. It could be seen that he was a regular here. When she opened the door of the room, she saw a room full of women. Some were dancing and some were singing. Ouyang Shua was hugging them left and right, and one was sitting on his lap, feeding him strawberries with her mouth to his mouth. A man and a woman. The room was filled with the smell of perfume and human flesh. Tao Yuan was stunned and immediately wanted to turn around and leave. Ouyang Shua lazily raised his head and glanced at her. In the dim light, he revealed an evil and charming smirk. Coming. His white teeth looked like the fangs of a beast in the light. He waved at her. Tao Yuan did not want to go over, so she picked up the microphone and said, Please come out with me for a moment. All the women in the room looked at her with disdainful eyes, mocking her for overestimating herself. They were all trying their best to please the man. Why should she go over just because she said so? Who did she think she was? Ouyang Shua seemed to be a little drunk. His eyes were misty and he had a different kind of charm. He also took the microphone and lazily raised the corner of his mouth, his expression charming. Come here. I don't want to go over. I'm drunk. His drunken voice was low and deep. It was so good that it could make people pregnant. There was a kind of magic that made people listen to his arrangements and be willing to do anything for him. Unfortunately, this trick was useless against Tao Yuan. It only made her hate him even more. She originally wanted him to ask the group of women to leave, but when she thought that the two of them were alone in this room, it was even more dangerous. Moreover, why did she think that he would listen to her? She sighed. I'll look for you in your office tomorrow morning. I'm not going to the company. Then the day after tomorrow, Ouyang Shua shrugged his shoulders and caressed the smooth and delicate skin of the woman in his arms with a lazy smile. It's really ruining the mood. Let her go out, the leopard-tattooed woman complained. That's right. Who does she think she is? How dare she order you around? How ridiculous. The bunny girl also rolled her eyes at her. Just chase her away. Tao Yuan didn't want to stay in this kind of damned place. Seeing that Ouyang Shua didn't have any intention of coming out with him, she turned around and left. She must be crazy to ask him for help. She angrily left the nightclub and was about to stop a car when she was suddenly pulled from behind. Ouyang Shua smiled at her drunkenly. That smile was beautiful in the eyes of others, but in Tao Yuan's eyes, it was disgusting. She was filled with anger and pushed him away. Let me go. Don't be like this. Can't you even take a joke? Do you have to be so petty? Your patience is really bad. Ouyang Shua was a little mischievous, but every frown and smile had his own charm, charming people. You think it's a joke, but in my opinion it's called shameless. She snorted. A man and a woman. Not bad. Your private life is more messy than I thought, but can you satisfy so many women? Ouyang Shua was amused. He laughed out loud. What a sour tone. Are you jealous? Jealous? For you? Don't flatter yourself. I just can't stand you men playing with women like this. Tao Yuan was originally a gentle person, but when it came to Ouyang Shua, her bad temper was triggered. She became very irritable and her words were full of sarcasm. That's where you're wrong. Those women are meant for men to play with. They have to thank me for my patronage. Otherwise they would all starve to death. Moreover, I'm a generous guest, so they're all fighting to serve me. Do you know how much I spent tonight? 1 million. On average, each of them gets 100,000. Yes. You have the money. You're the biggest. Is that okay? As for you saying that I can't satisfy them, you're just worrying for nothing. I can satisfy as many women as I want, including you. Do you want to try? Don't say that again. Ouyang Shua was a little drunk and dizzy, but her angry look was very cute to him. He couldn't help but want to kiss her fiercely. He had never been an abstinent man. If he had desires, he would find women to vent them on. However, he had never been in a nightclub every day having sex with different women. She was no longer in that home. He was not willing to go back. It was really contradictory. When she was at home, he was annoyed when she slept with Luli every night. But when she moved away, he didn't even have the urge to go home. He was even too lazy to continue with his revenge plan. Lu Qingwan was dead, Su Baihe was crazy, and the Lu family was in a mess. But he actually didn't feel a strong sense of satisfaction from revenge. His mind was mostly filled with her. He often felt like he was going crazy. Indulging in sex with different women every night didn't reduce his pain. Instead, it made him feel more empty. He hated himself like this. However, she knew nothing about his conflict and pain. She hated him to the core. Ouyang Shua couldn't help but laugh at himself. Tao Yuan couldn't guess what he was thinking. It probably wasn't anything good. She glared at his hand. "Let go of me, I'm leaving." "You're leaving just like this? Didn't you have something to talk to me about? Tell me. Let me hear how big of a matter it is that you actually came to find me personally." Tao Yuan pursed her lips. Actually, she had been hesitating on whether she should drag Ouyang Shua into this. She didn't want to have anything to do with someone like him. She was also afraid that he would make things more complicated. But with her strength alone, it was impossible for Luli to divorce her. Her sixth sense told her that Ouyang Shua was the only person who could help her. But should she associate herself with wolves and cheetahs? "You're hesitating? What's so hard to say?" Ouyang Shua took a step closer to her. He was very tall. He had to bend down and lower his head to be able to touch her face. His breath sprayed on her face and it was hot. Tao Yuan's mind was even more chaotic. "Tell me, only I can help you. Chapter 607. Ouyang Shua felt a lump in his throat, his desire was aroused. He longed to bite her peach-like lips and suck her honey juice. "Say it, tell me, what do you want? I can satisfy you." His voice was mesmerizing. Tao Yuan was bewitched and opened her mouth unconsciously. "I want a divorce." Ouyang Shua felt a burst of ecstasy even though he was dizzy. She wanted a divorce. Was she finally willing to get rid of that grave? These days, seeing that their relationship was getting better and better, he felt very uncomfortable. He thought that they were going to get back together. He suddenly felt an indescribable sense of gratitude. Of course, he couldn't just watch them get back together. "Are you telling me that you're going to be single again and I have a chance?" He was in a good mood and joked. The smile was not as superficial as before, as if it was just a layer of skin, and the corners of his eyes and eyebrows were shining with a smile. "Don't even think about it. It's impossible between you and me." "Then what do you mean?" "Luli doesn't want to get a divorce. I hope you can help me." She finally said this. Tao Yuan thought that whether she was willing or not, there was no turning back. "What do you think I can help with? You're a scheming person with a lot of bad ideas. Why can't I help? And didn't you just say that you can satisfy whatever I want?" "I'm talking about the body." Tao Yuan's face immediately turned red to her ears. "Hey you look so beautiful when you blush." His voice was tense. "I've really found the wrong person." She turned her head and wanted to leave, but her hand was still held by Ouyang Shua. "Is this the only sincerity you have in asking for help? Then what do you want me to do? It's up to you whether you want to help or not. I don't really want to ask for your help anyway." Tao Yuan's heart was in a mess and she wanted to escape. Yes, she was afraid and regretful. "I can help you with this, but what can I get out of it?" His eyes were burning, full of ambition and greed. "What do you want? What do you think I want?" He whispered into her ear. Every breath he took was filled with the smell of alcohol and the already charming scent of his body. It was breathtaking. Tao Yuan's body trembled. "You know very well." His voice grew deeper and deeper. "For example, you promised to marry me after the divorce. What do you think of this deal?" "You're crazy." Tao Yuan pushed him hard. Her eyes were flustered as she emphasized anxiously. "How could I have anything to do with someone like you?" "Someone like me? Who are you?" Ouyang Shua moved closer to her, forcing her to continuously retreat until her back hit the railing and she had nowhere to retreat. Her heart was beating very fast, but it was not because she was moved, but because she was afraid and conflicted. She was completely disgusted with him, disgusted with him, disgusted with his smell, disgusted with his behavior. Cunning, shameless, and despicable. In the face of Tao Yuan's series of insults, Ouyang Shua did not get angry. Instead, he smiled and looked proud of himself. It seems like you know me very well. That's right, that's me. Do you think this is something to be proud of? At least it can let me live well. Nothing can hurt me. Except her. She was the only woman who could make him lose his mind and scratch his heart. The woman who would think of him in the lonely night. Was this love? That word was too unfamiliar for him to understand. Go away. Not only did he not let her go, he placed his hands on both sides of her body, trapping her in his arms. Tao Yuan screamed anxiously. What are you doing? Ouyang Shua laughed deeply. Look at how nervous you are. Are you afraid that I'll take you here? Don't worry, I don't have a hobby of performing in public. I'm crazy to come to you. You won't help me at all. You're just playing with me. Who said I won't help you? Isn't your relationship very good? Why did you suddenly divorce? And you're so desperate to ask someone like me for help? That's my business. Anyway, I want a divorce. As for the reason, it's none of your business. Ouyang Shua thought that it didn't matter if she didn't say it. He would investigate anyway. Okay, I'll help you. You agree? Tao Yuan's eyes widened. It's rare for you to ask me to do something. How can I refuse? Then what are you going to do? I naturally have my ways. You don't have to worry about it. Tao Yuan was a little anxious. The premise is that you won't hurt anyone in the Lu family. I can't promise that. Then I don't need your help. Since I've already said it, I can't take it back. Why are you so anxious? If I want to take revenge on them, I'll do it regardless of whether I help you or not. It won't affect me at all. I won't allow you to hurt them. That's not within your control. Anyway, I'll help you with this. Tao Yuan didn't feel at ease at all. Instead, she became even more anxious. Shouldn't you say thank you now? His tall body pressed closer to her inch by inch. Being trapped in his arms was enough to make her panic. Now Tao Yuan was so flustered that she couldn't breathe. Her face was completely red. She was anxious. Let me go first. Why are you blushing? Do you find me more charming than your husband? Do you want to divorce him because of me? Is that so? His hot breath sprayed on her face. It was overwhelming. Tao Yuan couldn't escape. She said nervously and dryly. I'm your sister-in-law. Soon you won't be. Ouyang Shua was stimulated by these words. His eyebrows sank. He grabbed her chin and suddenly kissed her. Her resistance was swallowed by him. Tao Yuan widened her eyes in shock. She waved her arms and struggled. But this was just a shallow kiss. He didn't go deeper. He let go of her with a smirk. This is the deposit. After it's done, I'll get it back from you with interest. He wanted her. Tao Yuan wanted to give him a tight slap, but she was afraid of getting entangled with him. She struggled out of his arms and ran away. She had nightmares that night. In her dreams, she was kissed by Ouyang Shua and Lu Li chased after them. Tao Yuan was woken up by the nightmares several times. She brushed her teeth several times before going to bed and brushed her teeth several times in the morning. She got up early and had breakfast downstairs. Two young girls were gossiping. One of them said excitedly, "Did you see today's Weibo headlines? That woman from the Lu family has a scandal again." Of course I saw it. Hundreds of millions of views, okay. Today the group chat was blown up. Damn, it's with her own uncle. It's so exciting. Tao Yuan's heart tightened. Could it be her? Last time when Gong Shui poisoned her, I thought it was her. Poor Gong Shui is the victim, but she has to bear the responsibility. It's really something that can't be solved without money. Of course, she is the daughter-in-law of the Lu family. No matter how much money we spend, we have to clear her name. But this time she can't. That's right. There were reports long ago that the new vice president is the illegitimate son of the Lu family. This time, Tao Yuan was photographed kissing him at the entrance of the nightclub. She can't deny it. It's a pity that the photo was censored. We can't see what the woman looks like. The man is very handsome. The genes of the Lu family are so good. Isn't it? Both brothers are so handsome. That woman is so greedy. One is not enough. Now she seduced her brother-in-law and kissed him in such a place. She's so bold. With such a character, she must be the one who poisoned Gong Shui. Shameless. Exactly. Tao Yuan looked at the photo on her phone, her face pale. Her first reaction was, did Lu Li know? Would he believe these reports? But the photo was so clear. How could she explain it? What would his father-in-law think? All of this must be Ouyang Shua's doing. Tao Yuan regretted it so much that her intestines turned green. She went to his office angrily. Everyone in the hotel was talking about her and scolding her behind her back. But she couldn't care less about what others thought. Manager Tao, you can't go in. Manager Tao, bang, she pushed the door open. Ouyang Shua sat in the big office chair and turned around slowly. He was holding a cup of coffee. His expression was cheerful and the corners of his mouth curled up. You go out first. Yes. The secretary closed the door and left. You're the one who did this. Tao Yuan said firmly. Hi, good morning. Ouyang Shua smiled. Why are you so angry so early in the morning? Who provoked you again? Don't play dumb. You're the one who took the photos. He feigned a look of sudden realization. Oh, you mean those photos? I thought something happened. I'm also one of the main characters. How can I take photos? You're the one who asked someone to take the photos. You're the one who acquiesced by not saying anything. Whether I admit it or not, you think I'm the one who did it, don't you? If that's the case, why should I explain? You're shameless. Tao Yuan flew into a rage out of humiliation. You're the one who came to me for help. He easily pushed the responsibility to her. But I didn't ask you to force a kiss on me. Now it's such a big deal. What do you think I should do? Ouyang Shua frowned slightly as if he didn't understand what she was thinking. I don't understand. Since you've decided to get a divorce, don't you want the matter to be as big as possible? But I don't want to use this method to bring shame to myself and the Liu family. Then how do you want to solve it? Fight a lawsuit with Liu Li? Or should he calmly negotiate with him? If those tricks worked, would you still come to me? Then should I be grateful to you for making me a notorious woman? What's there to be nervous about? The woman they're talking about isn't Tao Yuan, but the daughter-in-law of the Liu family. Just a name. They don't know who you are at all. They're just passionate about the gossip of the rich and powerful. Once you get a divorce, you'll have nothing to do with the Liu family. Who will know you then? That's easy for you to say. That's because I'm open-minded. I'm also one of the main characters in this matter. You don't see me as anxious as you are. That's because you're a shameless person. You can't wait for this matter to be blown out of proportion. As long as you can embarrass the Liu family, you'll be happy. You're right. I'm in a good mood right now. Ouyang Shua put down his coffee and walked over slowly. Seeing you so anxious, my heart really hurts. Stop pretending. I really don't know what's wrong with me to go to you. Isn't it easy to understand? Even a rabbit will bite when it's anxious. To deal with the Liu family, ordinary methods won't work. Do you understand? Why are your eyes turning red as you speak? Ouyang Shua reached out to touch her face, but Tao Yuan slapped his hand away. Don't touch me, she screamed. Chapter 608. She was already at the end of her rope, but he was pushing her even further. You were the one who asked me for help first. Why are you blaming me now? I'm really innocent. Besides, it was just a kiss. I didn't force myself on you. You're shameless. Tao Yuan wanted to slap him, but Ouyang Shua grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. She kept struggling, but he hugged her even tighter. He was really infatuated with this woman's scent and everything about her, even when she was angry. Don't cry. My heart will ache. He caressed her palm with his fingertips, and his tone was perversely gentle. What a pitiful face. Only she could evoke the tenderness in his heart. I know you're very sad now, but the Liu family will only bring you disaster and pain. Only by completely getting rid of them can you start a new life. Everything you're suffering now will be rewarded in the future. I promise you. He used his gentle voice to hypnotize her. When his rough fingertips caressed her wrist, there seemed to be a kind of magic. A numb and dangerous feeling seeped into Tao Yuan's body and into her internal organs. She couldn't stop trembling and felt like she was going to collapse. Be good. I won't let you regret asking me for help. Ouyang Shua couldn't help kissing her again. When Liu Li rushed in and saw this scene, the man who was already furious became even more furious. Liu Li, Tao Yuan wanted to explain in a panic, but he pushed her away. He rushed up and gave Ouyang Shua a punch. Ouyang Shua staggered 2 steps back. The corner of his mouth was swollen and he tasted a strong taste of blood. But he only sneered indifferently. Then his eyes darkened and he rushed up to fight back. The two men punched and kicked each other, fighting each other. Stop fighting, let go, Lu Li, stop fighting, stop. After fighting for a while, Lu Li gained the upper hand. He fiercely punched Ouyang Shua's face, grabbed his collar, grabbed the vase and swung it at his head. Bang, the vase shattered. Ouyang Shua's head was bleeding. Tao Yuan screamed. Stop fighting. However, at this moment, Lu Li was as terrifying as a wild beast that had lost control. His eyes were bloodshot, scarlet and bloodthirsty. If you dare touch her again, I will make you disappear from this world. After saying that, he grabbed Tao Yuan's hand and dragged her out of the office. The secretary came in and saw Ouyang Shua lying in a mess on the floor. His face was covered in blood and he almost fainted. Quick! Call the ambulance. Lu Li took big steps and Tao Yuan stumbled while being dragged by him in high heels. She sprained her ankle several times. Let go, you're hurting me, Lu Li. Along the way there were people watching. They probably thought that Lu Li wanted to teach her a lesson because she was caught in the act. When he suddenly let go of her when he dragged her back to the office, she almost fell. She hurriedly covered her stomach and broke out in a cold sweat. Lu Li was like a trapped beast in the office, unable to vent his anger. After a long time he calmed down a little. Why was there such a report? He forced you, didn't he? I didn't expect that kiss, but I took the initiative to find him. Why did you find him? I was in a bad mood, so I asked him to drink with me. Lu Li looked at her incomprehensibly. You asked him to drink with you? Are you crazy? Don't you hate him the most? That was before. I don't hate him so much now. Tao Yuan turned her head to the side, afraid that he would see that she was lying. On the way here she had thought it through very clearly. Since this matter had happened, even if she didn't want it to happen, she might as well make it bigger and make him completely disappointed in her. What do you mean? Don't I even have the right to find someone to drink with me? That person is Ouyang Shua. He is dangerous. So what? He wants to deal with the Lu family, not me. Can't you see that he has ulterior motives towards you? Do you know what you are doing? I can't understand you anymore. I just want to find someone to drink with me. I didn't think too much. You going to find him is like a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth. Those photos must have been taken by him. Don't you understand? She tried to maintain a cold appearance, and there was no fluctuation in her eyes. I didn't expect it either. But I can't change what happened. Now everyone thinks that I cheated. I'm also the one who poisoned Gong Shui. I'm already notorious. I don't want to affect the reputation of the Lu family anymore. Let's get a divorce. Lu Li was speechless for a long time before he found his voice. This is your goal? You can't wait for this matter to blow up and then use the opportunity to divorce me, right? I just want to solve the problem. I'm also very tired of being the daughter-in-law of the Lu family. I don't want to continue like this. I'm just an ordinary person. I can't withstand so much pressure from the public. I want to live a more relaxed life. Is that okay? Don't tell me that the two of you planned this together to force me to divorce. Tao Yuan was silent. If this would make him completely disappointed in her, then she didn't mind becoming a vicious woman in his eyes. What do you mean by not saying anything? You agree? If you think, damn it, that's not the answer I wanted. I don't believe that you would do such a thing. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. It's not like you've known me for the first time. What can I not do? I originally wanted to part ways with you, but you kept dragging me and refused to divorce. Your actions caused me a lot of trouble. I just want to protect myself. What's wrong with that? Do you have to say that? I know you're not like this. He grabbed her shoulders and asked. Tao Yuan, look into my eyes. Tell me what's wrong with you. It was Ouyang Shua who threatened you, right? Don't be too imaginative. No one threatened me. It was I who wanted to do this. Since you don't want to divorce peacefully, then I can only use my own method. If you don't want things to worsen, then divorce. It's good for both of us. I don't understand. Aren't we fine? Why do you suddenly want a divorce? When I was fantasizing about a future with you, you wanted to get rid of me. How can I accept that? I can't understand. Lu Li's brows were tightly knitted. He couldn't understand. It's your wishful thinking that we have a future together. I've never promised anything. I've always said that I want a divorce. It's only because of those things that I delayed it. But my determination to divorce has never changed. Especially recently, you've been forcing me like this. I'm really tired and annoyed. Don't make me hate you even more, okay? She said that she was about to leave, but just as she opened the door, it was slammed shut with a bang. The world spun and she was pressed against the wall by him. The back of her head hit the wall and her vision turned black. She almost couldn't breathe. "Let go," she gasped for breath, finding it difficult to breathe. "Why is this happening? You clearly love me. What? You suddenly don't love me anymore?" Lu Li used his tall body to press against hers. He buried himself into her body, almost squeezing all the air out of her chest. Tao Yuan held her breath and her face turned red. She kept pushing at his arm. "Lu Li, don't. It's useless for you to force me like this. I still want a divorce. Don't let our relationship return to how it was before, okay? I won't let you leave me. Tao Yuan, look at me. You still love me, right?" He was anxious to get an answer from her. He had always been certain before, but now that her determination to divorce was so strong, he was a bit uncertain. He held her face with one hand and his slender fingers went into her hair, forcing her to look at him. "Tell me that you love me." His fingers were trembling very violently. "I don't want to answer." Tao Yuan just wanted to take a breath, but their bodies were tightly pressed together and she couldn't break free at all. "Say that you love me, say it," she shouted in a fit of anger. "I don't love you. How could I love you like this? Stay by my side, I'll treat you well. I'll make up for all the mistakes I've made in the past. Don't leave me, okay? Quickly go away. I hate it when you're like this. Then answer me, you love me." Tao Yuan was anxious and opened her mouth to speak. "I don't love you, I'm in love with Ouyang Shua. Are you satisfied with this answer? Do you think I'll believe such a clumsy lie? Why not? At least he's gentler than you, he won't force me like this." Tao Yuan reached out to push his chest, but he pinned her hands to his side. "I can also be gentle to you. I also want to dote on you, give me a chance." His hot breath blew into her ear as he gently panted, his body constantly rubbing against hers. "Don't say anything that I don't like to hear, okay? You know that I don't want to do this to you." Tao Yuan's entire body couldn't help trembling. Her body was sensitive, but her heart was filled with resistance towards him. Being imprisoned by him like this, her entire body couldn't move. "Lu Li, let go and, you see your body still feels me, doesn't it? You can't deny it." There was a thin layer of calluses on his fingertips that were a bit rough, stimulating her delicate skin. It was like 1,000 worms were crawling on Tao Yuan's body, causing her to tremble uncontrollably and almost collapse. "Don't be like this, and, look, you like it a lot." His thin lips pressed against hers, breathing and chuckling. "You're so beautiful like this. Even when your mouth says that I hate you, you still can't help but respond to me. Let's not fight anymore, okay?" His lips kept saying words of love that were filled with magic. "You're also very tired of resisting me, right?" Tao Yuan was half hanging on his body, her body was soft and she couldn't find any strength to support herself. She kept going down and in her helplessness, she could only wrap one hand around his neck. "Go away. Do you really want me to go away? But even though you say that, you're still pestering me. Do you really have to say one thing and mean another?" "I'm not." She turned her face to avoid his burning gaze. Every time he looked at her like this, she would completely faint and her entire body would melt. "Lu Li, and, don't be like this. Let go of me, I'll never let go." Chapter 609. She felt a chill in her heart. Tao Yuan suddenly sobered up. She was so ashamed that she almost fell in love again. She wanted to divorce him. They shouldn't have any more entanglements. "Let me go." She struggled to break free from the hand that was holding her behind her back. "Let me go, let me go." She twisted her body violently as if she wanted to fight him. "I will never let you go." The man's voice was low and hoarse and he was very tense. "I told you to let go." Tao Yuan was annoyed. She didn't know where she got the strength from, but she suddenly pulled her wrist out of his hand and slapped him in the face. Slap! A hard slap landed on her face, accompanied by her angry cry. "Let go." Lu Li was stunned for a few seconds and his brows were tightly knitted, but it was not because of anger but because of injury. "Do you hate me that much?" "Yes, I hate you that much." Tao Yuan's eyes were red. "You are always so self-righteous. When I don't want to, you use violence to control me, but I am not your pet, nor am I your prisoner. You have no right to do this to me. It is because you don't know how to respect people and bully me so unscrupulously, that I am afraid of you, that I can't believe you, and that I can't wait to get rid of you. No matter how much you say you love me, no matter how gentle you are to me, in my eyes, your nature has not changed at all. That is why I am so eager to get rid of you. I really have had enough of you. The more you treat me like this, the more I want a divorce. You can never change my mind. This is just the beginning. If you continue to pester me, I will use even more extreme methods. I will make you regret it. She screamed at him and ran away. Rushing out of the office, she could only hide in the toilet and cry silently. And the man's eyes were also red. At the bar, all kinds of men and women were wildly indulging their troubles in the middle of the dance floor. The music was noisy, and the dense drum beat was beating on the heart, making people excited. The air was full of the thick smell of human flesh, and some men and women kissed and caressed as if there was no one else around. A handsome man sat in a private room in the corner of the bar. However, he was not affected by the environment at all. He just kept on drinking. Countless women were eyeing him covetously, but only one person dared to come forward and sit beside him, constantly stroking her hair seductively. "Young Master Lu, why are you just drinking? That's so boring. Is there something bothering you? Can you tell me?" The woman held his face and made him look at her, trying to seduce him with her eyes. However, this trick did not work on Lu Li. There was only wine in his eyes, and there was only a woman he loved and hated in his heart. He pushed her hand away, but the woman clung to him like an octopus. "Tell me what's bothering you. I want to help you. Didn't I tell you to get lost? Why aren't you leaving?" "I love you," she said sweetly. "Well, if you love me, why did you divorce me? Why did you abandon me? Tell me." He grabbed her by the neck, snarling, frantic questions. The woman's eyes rolled back from his grip and she felt dizzy from the shaking. Damn it. Lu Li threw her on the sofa. Cough, cough, cough. She covered her throat and coughed violently. She was very angry, but the other party was Lu Li. She dared not to say anything. Instead, she softened her expression and continued to please him. "Do you think I'm your wife? So you're angry because of her? Yeah, she actually cheated with uncle behind your back and was caught by the media. Isn't that putting on a bad name for you? That's too hateful. Gong Shui was poisoned by her, right? That bitch is really shameless and cruel. How could you marry that kind of person? I feel sorry for you. It's not worth to be angry with that kind of person. You still have me. Let me serve you well, okay?" As she said this, she pouted her lips and was about to kiss him, but Lu Li grabbed her wrist and threw her to the ground. "Get lost." The woman ran away. A pair of enchanting eyes looked at this scene coldly, and the corner of her mouth curled up into a sneer. She walked out from the dark, wearing a leopard print short skirt. Her figure was enchanting, and her face was charming, attracting the attention of many men. "Hi, long time no see." Two long legs appeared in Lu Li's sight. He knew who it was, but he didn't care. "You don't even want to talk to me?" Tao Yinran sat down, half leaning against him, exuding a strong perfume smell. "Didn't I ask you to go abroad? Originally, I wanted to leave, but now it seems that it doesn't matter to you whether I leave or not, right?" Tao Yinran poured herself a glass of wine, and the corner of her mouth curved. "I'm very sorry about what happened to Qingwan. My condolences. If you and Tao Yuan get back together, then I will leave, but now it seems that the situation is not like that. She and that Ouyang, who is your brother, are they together?" "Shut up. I don't want to talk about it. It seems that it is true. She kept saying that she wanted to divorce you and said that she didn't want you. I thought she was just pretending to be brave, but I didn't expect. She really has guts. Do you regret it now? Because of her, you caused everyone to betray you, and in the end, you were abandoned by her. Do you think this was her plan from the beginning? You are like this now all because of her." Lu Li's temples were throbbing and his eyeballs were about to pop out. Was it like this? She played him in the palm of her hand? She was taking revenge on him? No, in the 2 months when he was at his lowest, her care for him was real. She didn't lie to him, he could feel it. But why did she want a divorce? He really didn't understand. "I told you long ago the current Tao Yuan is not simple. Do you still think she is the woman who loved you so much? Once a person gives up, they will be completely reborn, including their heart. She doesn't love you anymore, so why do you have to suffer so much for her? It's really not worth it. I don't want to hear it anymore." Bang! Lu Li smashed a wine bottle. The glass splashed on Tao Yinran's leg, immediately cutting a wound on her white and flawless calf, but her smile became more beautiful. She still loved him, but now she hated him even more, and this hatred was the only driving force that supported her to approach him. She wanted to see him suffer. She wanted to see him in so much pain that he wished he was dead. She wanted him to regret hurting himself for Tao Yuan. If she can't get love, then he can't get it. Obviously she was gnashing her teeth, but Tao Yanran pretended to be affectionate. Ali, don't torture yourself anymore, okay? Seeing you like this, I feel more pain than you. I know I did a lot of wrong things to make you disappointed in me, but I really want to change. Since Tao Yuan doesn't want you anymore, can't you give me a chance? Ali, let's start over, okay? Lu Li anxiously scratched his hair. Don't say it. Give me a chance, Ali. I beg you. I will get better, I won't let you down again, I promise we will go back to the past, loving each other. I can't go back, I only have her in my heart. Other than her, I don't want anyone else. Lu Li's voice has become hoarse. But she's just retaliating against you, can't you see it? She squatted down between his knees and anxiously said. Only I am the one who truly loves you. Without you I can't live. Ali, don't be stubborn, be with me, okay? Go away. Lu Li pushed her arm away, and with a lot of strength Tao Yanran flew out, her head hit the wall and her forehead broke. She reached out her hand and touched it, it was all blood, but Lu Li was still immersed in his own pain, he didn't even look at her. Do you have to be so heartless to me? Even if I die you won't care, right? She stood up and sneered. Her face revealed a crazy and determined expression, she did not care about anything. Is it not enough for Qingwan to die? Is it enough for me to die to wake you up? He just continued to drink as if he couldn't hear her words. You're really ruthless. I'll make you regret it right now. Tao Yanran rushed out of the bar. A drunk man was smiling at her with bad intentions, and a pair of shifty eyes lingered on her body as he walked towards her. She knew that if she didn't escape now, it would be too late, but she only thought of revenge against Lu Li. He didn't care, right? She must make him regret it. Hardening her heart, Tao Yanran did not run, but instead walked into the alley. The man followed. She had already prepared herself to be raped. But what she didn't expect was that there were 3 other men hiding in the alley. The 4 of them blocked her in the back alley. Tao Yanran panicked, but it was already too late to escape. You guys move, you're already here and you still want to run? One of the men slapped her to the ground. Beauty, I advise you not to ask for trouble. Be good, if you serve us well, we'll also make you feel good. Go away, I'm Lu Li's woman, go away. Come on, your man doesn't want you and even hit you. Let us brothers take good care of you, ha. Move away, save me, Tao Yanran screamed at the top of her lungs. When Lu Li closed his eyes, he saw Tao Yanran's determined expression. Did she really want to do something stupid? He was still a bit worried and chased out, but he couldn't see her. Save me, a weak cry for help came over. Lu Li's body suddenly trembled. He quickly rushed into the back alley. Hospital. Lu Li sat anxiously in the corridor, his mind filled with the image of Tao Yanran covered in blood. As soon as the doctor came out, he immediately rushed up to ask about the situation. Miss Tao was violated and suffered a lot of bleeding. Her life is not in danger, but she needs some time to recover. The doctor sighed, evidently indignant at the brutality of the deed. Her face was cut a few times, and she needs to do some facial surgery after her condition stabilizes. Lu Li regretted it. When he saw Tao Yanran's appearance, he knew that something would happen, and he should have come out to find her immediately. Just because he hesitated for a few minutes, he shouldn't have thrown them to the police station, he should have killed them privately. Can I go in and see her? Yes. He walked into the ward, Tao Yanran was still in a coma, and there were a few wounds on her face. Chapter 610. Pa! Lu Li slapped himself hard in the face. No matter what Tao Yanran did wrong, at least she used to be the woman he loved deeply. Even if she was a stranger, she shouldn't suffer such cruel abuse. But it was too late to regret. Lu Li took out his phone and called Tao Yuan, but she didn't answer. His heavy heart continued to fall. Tao Yanran had nightmares repeatedly that night. In the dirty back alley, the air was filled with a disgusting stench. Don't, let me go, please. Let me go, help. She woke up from the nightmare with tears all over her face. It was just a nightmare, right? It must be. Lu Li's face gradually became clear in her eyes. She couldn't remember the last time she woke up and saw him. Ali? You are. She held his hand and continued to cry. I just had a terrible nightmare, I dreamed that I was. Lu Li's face was heavy. Where is this? Why do you look so pale? This is a hospital? How did I get here? As soon as Tao Yinran moved her body, she found that her whole body was sore as if it was torn apart. An ominous premonition instantly surrounded her. Was it not a nightmare? But Tao Yinran's eyes widened and her ears rang. She couldn't believe her eyes. But the memory gradually became clear. In the bar, he pushed her away and hit her head. Under the pain and despair, she lost her mind and let a man rape her so that Luli would feel guilty for her. But she didn't expect that there were 3 men hiding in the back alley of the bar. That was not a nightmare. Luli didn't know how to comfort her. His words seemed so weak. You just need to rest, everything will be fine. Fine? I was raped, how can I get better? Can I pretend that it was a nightmare and nothing happened? She screamed frantically. Yinran, don't be like this. Let go of me, you are not worthy to touch me. You have made me like this. I hate you, are you satisfied to see me like this? Are you happy now? You killed Qingwan and now you want to harm me, you bastard. Tao Yinran smashed a vase, grabbed the broken pieces and cut her wrist. Stop, don't do this. Let me go, let me go. Let me die. Luli snatched the fragment and threw it out. Yinran, why don't you let me die? What? I don't have the face to live in this world anymore. Just let me die. I'm sorry. I know how much you're suffering. This is not the end of me. I promise you everything will be fine. Tao Yuan's eyelids had been twitching for the past 2 days. She had a feeling that a disaster was about to happen, and she felt uneasy every day. His efficiency had been low for the whole day, and he had accumulated a lot of work. He could only bring it home and continue to work overtime. He was staring at his computer in a daze. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. The only visitor to her apartment was Luli. She first looked through the peephole. No one was there. She opened the door a crack and poked her head out. A cardboard box suddenly appeared in front of her eyes, which made her jump. Ouyang Shua walked out with a playful smirk on his face. Good evening. Tao Yuan came back to her senses and closed the door, but Ouyang Shua reached out and pushed her away. He swaggered in as if he was returning to his own home. Not bad, this place is quite cozy. I didn't let you in. Get out. I was kind enough to bring you supper. It's freshly cooked wonton and it's very delicious. Ouyang Shua put it on the coffee table and threw himself onto the sofa. He put his legs on the coffee table and looked very comfortable. Tao Yuan thought that the 2 brothers were exactly the same in this aspect. They were both so overbearing and annoying. The door was still open. She had no intention of letting him stay for long. If something really happened, it would be better to leave the door open so that she could escape. What? A guest came with a gift. As the host, shouldn't you treat me well and pour me a cup of tea or something? I didn't invite you as a guest. You're trespassing. Seeing that you're working so hard, I thoughtfully brought wonton to express my condolences. Is this how you treat me? If you have anything to say, just say it. I'm busy and don't have time to waste with you. No matter what, we're allies now. Can't your attitude be a little better? Tao Yuan crossed her arms and looked like she was going to kick him out if he continued to dawdle and talk nonsense. If you make me a cup of tea, I'll tell you a good news. A dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. What good news can you have? That's not necessarily true. Ouyang Shua winked at her and smiled. Your husband's ex-girlfriend was raped 3 days ago. Oh, to be precise, is being gang-raped considered good news? Tao Yuan was stunned and frowned. This kind of joke is not funny. Do I look like I'm joking? Tao Yuan didn't think that Ouyang Shua would make up a lie to scare her, but that was a terrible disaster. Subconsciously, she refused to believe it. You're serious? Aha, very serious. Gang rape. This word was too scary. 3 years ago, she thought that she was raped and lived with the trauma for several years. She had nightmares in the middle of the night, so she knew better than anyone what a terrible disaster it meant to a woman. She was flustered. And Ouyang Shua still had a smile on his face, looking very cruel. He could actually laugh and talk about a woman being gang-raped. Was he cold-blooded? Shouldn't this be good news for you? Why is your reaction completely different from what I imagined? Then what should I do? Rejoicing and celebrating without restraint? Sorry, I'm not as inhumane as you, basing your happiness on other people's pain. She has nothing to do with me. Why should I be happy? I'm happy for you. It's said that the ex-girlfriend is a thorn in the eyes of the current girlfriend. Now that this happened to her, you should be the happiest one, shouldn't you? I heard that she was gang-raped that night when she was with Luli. Luli has been accompanying her in the hospital these days. Tao Yuan's ears buzzed. Could it be that he called her in the middle of the night because of this? I don't know much about his ex-girlfriend, but based on what she's done before, she's quite a ruthless woman. Maybe she's trying to make Lu Li feel guilty, so she purposely found someone else. You're crazy. What woman would make a man? Tao Yuan was ashamed to say those two terrible words. You can't do it, but it doesn't mean that she can't. Desperate women are the most terrible. I brought you such good news, so it's not too much to ask you to make me a cup of tea, right? Do you think I'm in the mood now? Why not? She was the one who was raped, not you. Why are you worried? Make me a cup of tea and I'll leave after I've rested enough. Otherwise, maybe I'll spend the night here. As for what will happen, don't say any more. I don't want to hear it. In order to get rid of him as soon as possible, Tao Yuan turned and went to the kitchen. She was absent-minded when she made the tea, and she accidentally scalded her hand and screamed. Ouyang Shua immediately rushed in and grabbed her hand. The back of her hand was scalded red and there were blisters on it. Seeing this made his heart ache. Why are you so careless? As he spoke, he took out an ice pack from the fridge and put it on her hand. It's none of your business. If you didn't force me to make the tea, I wouldn't have. Who knew you were so clumsy? You're the clumsy one. I'm in a bad mood. Are you pitying her? That's not how sympathy is used. You pity her, but she will never soften her heart to you. To that kind of person, your heart must be harder than anything else. Only in this way can you protect yourself, understand? I know, but it's still too scary. If it happened to me, I wouldn't know what to do. Ouyang Shua chuckled. Don't worry. She's very tough. She won't die so easily. Tao Yuan furrowed her brows. It sounds like you know her very well. Are you very close? Who said that I have to be familiar with her to understand her? As long as you know what she has done, it's not difficult to guess her character. Silly girl. He flicked her forehead with his finger. This silly girl was extremely affectionate, and his tone could give people goosebumps. Tao Yuan quickly withdrew her hand and hid in the bathroom. Ouyang Shua walked out of the kitchen. His eyes fell on her computer and he narrowed his eyes. Tao Yinran was still lifeless after being hospitalized for a few days. She lay on the bed sickly and there was no life in her eyes. Lu Li accompanied her in the hospital. He bought a bowl of porridge and brought it to her mouth. Tao Yinran's eyes didn't move at all. She hadn't eaten, drank, slept, or rested for a few days. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her lips were so dry that the skin was peeling. She looked as if all the blood had been sucked out of her. It's already over. Don't torture yourself anymore, okay? It's already over? It's easy for you to say. If this happened to Tao Yuan, would you say it so easily? Can you pretend that nothing happened? When you sleep with her, won't you remember that there were 4 men on top of her? Won't you think that she's dirty? If you can't, then don't say it so hypocritically. It will always be a shadow in my heart. As long as I'm alive, I'll never forget the humiliation of that night, and I'll never forget that it's all your fault, Lu Li's. You must be thinking now that this is karma. I hurt Tao Yuan, so now I'm getting my retribution. But let me tell you, this is not retribution. It's your fault. Don't think about escaping the responsibility for the rest of your life. I curse you to never have a guilty conscience. I know it's my fault. Tell me, what can I do to make it up to you? If I ask you to divorce her, marry me, and make it up to me for the rest of your life, will you agree? It's impossible for me to divorce her. Look at you. You're such a hypocrite. The so-called making up is just lip service. I really want to do something for you. I can always take care of you like a friend or family member. No need. If you can't give me marriage, then I'd rather make you feel guilty for the rest of your life. Lu Li didn't know what to do with her extreme approach. It's not good for either of us to suffer like this. Chapter 6:11. Don't say that again. I said that I will take care of you, and I will do it until you find a man who is worthy to entrust the rest of your life to. Really? That's good. Prove to me that a woman who has been raped can also be happy, and that there will be a man who is willing to have her. Tao Yinran sneered with determination, unbuttoning her buttons one by one. What are you doing? I want you to have sex with me. Didn't you say it so easily? She tore open her collar. There were still some unhealed bruises and scars on her snow-white skin. It was a ghastly sight. Do it with me. Tao Yinran unbuttoned her shirt, and her smile was full of despair. Lu Li was not enchanted by her body, but his mood became heavier. She was torturing herself. He pressed her hand down. Don't do this again. Didn't you like me before? Why don't you do it with me? You see, you still dislike me, right? I don't dislike you, but you are degrading yourself. You say it nicely, but you simply dislike me. Tao Yinran flew into a rage out of humiliation and punched him. You bastard, my life is ruined by you. I hate you, I hate you. I hate you. After swearing at the top of her lungs, she collapsed in his arms and burst into tears. Why are you doing this to me? What should I do? What should I do? She cried for a long time and fell asleep from exhaustion. Lu Li covered her with the quilt and silently walked out of the ward. He stood in the hallway and smoked a cigarette. Today was a good day. The sun was shining brightly outside, but it did not shine into the hallway. In a place like the hospital, it was cold everywhere, and the air was filled with the nauseating smell of medicine. Everything was so hopeless, and it made one's mood even more depressed. While he was smoking, 2 nurses were gossiping beside him. Did you see today's newspaper? Something happened to the Lu family again. Of course I saw it. It's on the front page. I just wanted to tell you that I didn't expect a rich lady like Su Baihe to have an affair. Wasn't she also a rich young lady? In the past he often appeared in magazines. What philanthropist, what honorary president of the Women's Federation, Tui? He actually has a gigolo so shameless. That's right. That man is her family's driver. He's only 20 years old. She's more than old enough to be his mother. I can't believe she could make it. She has such a heavy taste. The Lu family is too messed up. First, it was the daughter-in-law who poisoned her and had an affair with her uncle. Now, even the mother-in-law is having an affair. TSK, it's like a modern version of Family Thief. It's even more exciting than the movie. Number 1 family? Where do you think you're going to put your face now? The rich and powerful are really messed up. Exactly. Lu Li didn't hear it too clearly, but he heard something. He took a few steps forward and snatched the newspaper from her hand. The headlines were about Su Baihe's affair, and there were some photos of her and Li Hua going in and out of the hotel. Lu Li's head was about to explode when he saw the disgusting remarks and photos. He couldn't believe that his mother would cheat on him. Lu Li hurriedly took out his phone and asked someone to investigate the source of the photos. Soon he got a reply. CO, these photos were originally sent to the media from an apartment. The owner of the apartment is your wife. Tao Yuan? Boom! A heavy bomb exploded in Lu Li's world. He opened his eyes wide in shock and couldn't believe what he had just heard. The photos were sent to the media by Tao Yuan. When the scandal broke, Tao Yuan went to work as usual while worrying about Tao Yinran's situation. Lin Wei rushed in with the newspaper in her hand. She was shocked. Those photos were taken by the detective agency and she had locked them in the computer at home. How did it get exposed? She rushed to the detective agency. She barged into President Huang's office. Miss Tao, how can I help you? Tao Yuan was furious. Su Baihe, did you send those photos to the media? How is that possible? We signed a confidentiality agreement back then. Why would I send them to the media? And didn't I destroy the negatives in front of you? Who knows if you have a backup? Miss Tao, we, the detective agency, are responsible for tracking, but we will never do anything illegal like blackmail. What good would exposing it to the media? I thought it was you who sent it. After all, you can't investigate your mother-in-law without a purpose, right? It's not me. Then who is it? Anyway, we don't have a backup here. The photos must have been sent from you. Tao Yuan was about to get angry when she felt a murderous aura coming from behind her. She turned around subconsciously. Lu Li stood at the door with a gloomy face. His fists were clenched so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh. She panicked and didn't know how to face him. You know each other? Then I'll go out first. You guys take your time. President Huang quickly ran away. In the office the pressure was hovering. Tao Yuan's face was pale. She bit her lips and didn't dare to look at the angry face. Did you send the photos to the media? The man's question made her look up hurriedly. No, how could it be me? I just found out about it. Then tell me, why did you appear in the detective agency that followed my mother? You already knew about it. You sent someone to follow her, right? Lu Li gritted his teeth. Ever since he was born he had never been as angry as he was now. His body was about to explode. When we were on a business trip, I accidentally saw your mother and Zhang Hua in the car. So when I came back I sent someone to investigate. But you didn't mention a word to me. His voice was cold and so was his blood. I don't know how to tell you. I don't want you to be sad. Then when you exposed it to the media, did you consider my feelings? I never wanted to expose those photos. I just wanted to use them to threaten your mother so she could force you to divorce her. Later, when she and Lu Qingwan did something even worse, I sent them to my father, but I didn't tell anyone else. Hey, you're very meticulous. Tao Yuan, I really underestimated you in the past. Didn't I? At that time, I was just anxious to divorce you. Isn't it still the same now? That day you said yourself that if I don't divorce you, don't blame me for being rude. So this is your way of taking revenge on me? I didn't. What do I have to say to make you believe that I didn't send those photos? No matter how much I hate her, I would never do such a thing. Impossible? Then can you explain to me why those photos were sent from your computer? Tao Yuan's face turned even paler. She was at a loss and only remembered after a long time. It was Ouyang Shua. That night he was at my house. Why was he at your house? How can you think like that? Why not? You said yourself that you fell in love with him. You fell in love with him, so you wanted to divorce me no matter what, so you planned all this with him, didn't you? For the sake of divorce, you didn't hesitate to destroy the entire Lu family, didn't you? He roared and angrily questioned her. His slap flew towards her face, but it stopped by her cheek. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't hit her. He endured until the veins on his arms were bulging and his knuckles were cracking. Tao Yuan closed her eyes. She would rather he slap her. At least she would feel better. There was no right or wrong in this matter. At the beginning she only wanted to protect herself, but in the end she still hurt the Lu family and Lu Li. She was a sinner. That slap didn't fall. She trembled and opened her eyes. Lu Li's entire body was trembling. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with hatred and disappointment. He hated her. Her heart was about to break. Lu Li, don't touch me. He flung her hand away and pointed at her face, gritting his teeth fiercely. Tao Yuan, I was wrong about you. He rushed out of the door. A hot tear fell from her eye. Tao Yuan walked out of the detective agency in a daze. As soon as she walked out, she saw Ouyang Shua leaning against the wall with a victorious smile on his face. She was instantly enraged and rushed over to slap him. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his embrace. She struggled violently, shoved and cursed. Let go of me, bastard. You were the one who sent the photos. It was me. No matter how she hit, scolded or shouted, he wouldn't let go. If you didn't send those photos, would you keep them for yourself to admire? You deliberately let me get out of the car by the side of the road and let me see that scene. That's right, it was also me. Ouyang Shua, you're so despicable and sinister. This is the way I live. Welcome to my world. I don't want to become like you. I was just used by you. Why do you have to do this to me? The pain you're going through now, I've experienced it before. Believe me, one day you'll find that it's all worth it. I've said it before, only by bathing in fire can you be reborn, but bathing in fire is very painful. Only by enduring this pain can you get the life you want. I won't let you regret it. Let go of me, bastard. Scold me all you want. Scold me all you want. Hate me all you want, but you have to believe one thing. I will never hurt you. He had also gone through a long period of suffering before he was willing to see his own heart. He had already unknowingly fallen in love with her. He used her, but he didn't want to hurt her. Listen to me, there isn't a single good person in the Lu family. They all deserve to die. That's your grudge with them. It has nothing to do with me. I don't want to be dragged into your dirty, conspiratorial world. I don't want to be in pain like this. She struggled for a long time and was finally exhausted. She felt powerless, as if she had been dragged into the abyss and was beyond redemption. It was too late to regret now. She couldn't change anything. She could only let her tears flow freely and let the pain ravage her heart. She just loved someone she shouldn't love. Moreover, she loved for a full 14 years. The process had already left her exhausted and bruised. Why did it have to become even more complicated? Did the heavens think she wasn't miserable enough? Why is a demon like you still alive in this world? Why don't you die? Ouyang Shua sneered mockingly. If I wanted to die, I would have died more than 20 years ago. I thought the heavens let me live for revenge, but now I know that it was to let me meet you. Tao Yuan, we are destined to be entangled together. I will never let go of you. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.